As you settle into bed, imagine a quiet desert night, a team of researchers, and a single strange object buried in untouched soil. They thought it was just another artifact until they turned it over and realized the carvings matched nothing in human history. The desert has a way of keeping secrets. It buries them beneath sand, hides them beneath heat, and guards them beneath silence so deep it feels ancient. The dunes shift like slow-moving waves, swallowing whatever history tries to leave behind. Storms come and go, civilizations rise and vanish, but the desert remains, unchanged, unmoved, eternal. And that is why discoveries in these vast, barren landscapes are rare. Too rare. Most archaeologists spend years chasing clues, only to brush sand off broken pottery or faded walls that tell the same story again and again. The world's deserts have already surrendered their biggest secrets. Or at least, that's what the scientific community believed. But the desert surrounding the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter, has always resisted full exploration. It is a place where GPS signals die, compasses spin, and technology feels unwelcome. A place where nomads whisper about things buried in the sands, not meant for human hands. So when Dr. Elias Rowan led a small, unregistered team deep into the desert, they expected nothing more than a routine mapping expedition. Days of surveys, measurements, and heat stroke. They did not expect history to break open beneath their feet. They did not expect the discovery that would shake their understanding of human civilization. And they definitely did not expect fear. Real fear. Primal fear. The kind that still wakes them in the night. Because what they found out there was not human. It happened on their 6th morning. The sun was barely above the horizon, the world still wrapped in that early bluish haze when everything looks unreal. Elias walked ahead of the group, scanning the dunes through a set of sand-scuffed binoculars. His breath was shallow and excited. He felt something today, an instinct he trusted more than technology. Behind him trudged 5 colleagues, Mira Walsh, a geologist, Kareem Haddad, an anthropologist, and 3 graduate researchers who had joined out of curiosity rather than conviction. They carried supplies, drones, sensors, and tools strapped to their belts, though none of it comforted them in the oppressive heat. Elias suddenly stopped walking. "What is it?" Mura called from behind. He didn't answer. He just pointed. At first glance, the dune ahead looked like any other, towering, smooth, and rippled by the wind. But something was wrong. The shape was too perfect. Its curve too exact. Its slope too symmetrical. Dunes formed naturally never looked like that. "Bring the scanners," Elias said. Kareem frowned. "You think something is under there?" "I know there is." They ran the ground-penetrating radar across the dune. The machine beeped, flashed, crackled, and then its screen froze. "What the hell?" one of the grad students muttered, hitting the reset button. The device refused to restart. Elias knelt and pressed his palm against the sand. The heat stung his skin, but beneath it, something felt different, solid, out of place. "We dig," he said. No one argued. They had worked with Elias long enough to know when his instincts were right. Shovels slid into the sand, slinging dune dust into the wind. 10 minutes passed, then 20, and then thunk. A sound sharp enough to silence everyone. Metal? Stone? Something in between? They cleared more sand until a dark curved surface emerged, black as obsidian, but far smoother, almost glass-like. It reflected the sunlight in a way that made their eyes ache. "What is this made of?" Mira whispered. Karim brushed it with his fingers. "It's cold." In a desert burning at 130 degrees Fahrenheit, the object was cold. A chill crawled up everyone's spine. They expanded the dig site, clearing sand in frantic waves until more of the structure revealed itself. It was a sphere, perfectly round, cut neatly in half, like some enormous dark egg cracked open. The edges were razor sharp, too precise, too deliberate. Human craftsmanship, thousands of years old, could never achieve such perfection. Elias stared at the sphere with a mixture of awe and dread. "This," he said softly, "is older than anything we've found in this region." "How old?" Mira asked. He worked his tongue over his teeth, hesitant. "At least 4,000 years." A hush fell over the group. 4,000 years old? Nothing from that era, no tool, no structure, no artifact, was made from material like this. This sphere didn't belong to the Bronze Age or the Copper Age or any age that made sense. Something about it was wrong. Very wrong. As they uncovered more sand, strange engravings appeared, tiny lines carved with impossible precision, forming patterns that did not resemble any script known to archaeologists. Not Sumerian, not Egyptian, not Proto-Arabic, not any documented language on Earth. The patterns curved in ways that defied logic, spiraling and intersecting with fluid geometry. They looked less like writing and more like equations. "This isn't decoration, it's information," Karim said. "But written how? And by who?" Mira swallowed hard. No human civilization 4,000 years ago could produce this. By late afternoon they uncovered the rest of the sphere. It sat in a shallow chamber made from the same black material, smooth, seamless, and flawless. There were no joints, no seams, no tool marks. The entire structure looked manufactured, but by something far more advanced than ancient humans. The team stopped working, staring into the chamber like witnesses to a miracle or a warning. Elias climbed inside first. The moment his boots touched the black floor, a faint vibration pulsed through it, humming up through his bones. He stepped back, breath hitching. "Did you feel that?" he whispered. Before anyone could answer, the sun dipped lower, and the sky shifted into deep orange. They had only minutes before the desert cold arrived. "Let's set camp," Elias said. "We continue in the morning." But none of them slept that night, because something in the darkness was humming. At dawn, Mira was the first to scream. The sphere had moved. It sought several inches from where they left it, leaving a clean circular imprint in the sand. Nothing, no human, no animal, no natural force could move that massive object. The wind wasn't strong enough. There were no footprints, no drag marks, nothing. "It moved itself," Mira whispered. Elias crouched beside the sphere. It felt warmer than it had yesterday. Warm like skin, warm like something alive. "This is not an artifact. It's a device," he said. They gathered around it as the air grew unnervingly still. And then, click. A sharp metallic noise cut through the silence. The sphere emitted a hiss, like air escaping from inside. The thin slits running across its surface began to spread open, releasing a soft blue glow that grew brighter, brighter, brighter. "Back up!" Elias shouted. The sphere unfolded like petals of a mechanical flower, and something rose from the center. Not an object, not a mechanism, a projection, floating in midair. A swirling mass of symbols, maps, shapes, lines, like a star chart mixed with something older, stranger, impossible. "It's reacting to us," Kareem breathed. The projection shifted when we moved. It pulsed when we spoke. It brightened when we touched the air near it. "What is it showing?"
Mira asked. "Not a map of the sky," Elias whispered. "A map of the earth." But the earth, as it appeared long before recorded history. And worse, certain regions glowed red. Not locations known today. Not places humans had civilizations. Places that should have been empty. Places that, apparently, were not. One of the graduate researchers raised a camera to record it. The moment the lens focused on the projection, the camera fried. Smoke rose. Circuits melted. "Do not point anything at it!" Elias barked. Then the projection shifted again. The swirling symbol snapped into a single shape, a triangle. Inside it, an eye-like symbol. Regardless of culture, language, or era, it looked like a warning, a universal sign of danger. The projection brightened, then collapsed, disappeared. The sphere shut itself, petals retracting with a metallic whisper. Silence fell. But the ground beneath them rumbled. Something deep, deep below the chamber stirred, like a sleeping giant rolling beneath miles of sand. "What did we wake up?" Mira gasped. Elias staggered backward. His breath shook as he stared at the sealed sphere. "It isn't an artifact," he whispered. "It's a message." "A message from who?" Kareem asked. Elias lifted his eyes. "Not who," he said quietly. "When." Because what they found in that desert was not a relic of ancient humans. It was older, much older. 4,000 years was only the beginning of its story. And somewhere beneath that dune, something else was buried. Something the sphere was warning them about. Something that should have stayed asleep. Something that terrified archaeologists long before this team ever found it.
The morning after the sphere's awakening felt wrong. The sky looked the same, pale blue with wisps of white cloud, but the air carried a heaviness the team couldn't explain. It felt as if the ground beneath them held its breath, as if the desert itself was watching. Elias Roas stood outside his tent long before sunrise, unable to sleep even a moment after the previous night's events. Every time he shut his eyes, he saw the projection, the swirling symbols, the glowing lines, and the unmistakable warning symbol. The memory wasn't just visual. He could feel it, as if the sphere had pressed it into him like a brand. Mira emerged from her tent next, rubbing her eyes and pulling her scarf tighter around her shoulders. "You didn't sleep either," she said quietly. Elias shook his head. No one slept. He didn't need to ask. The exhaustion clinging to the team was obvious. When something ancient and unnatural wakes up beside your camp, sleep becomes impossible.
Kareem stepped out last, carrying a notebook filled with scribbles and sketches from the day before. That projection, the shapes, the way they moved, they weren't random. I know, but we're not going to figure it out standing around. Behind them, the sphere sat half buried again, gleaming like a polished black heart. Its surface was cold, too cold. The desert should have warmed it by morning, but it looked untouched by temperature. "What now?" Mira asked. Elias exhaled slowly. "We dig deeper." At 7 a.m., the team expanded the excavation footprint. They measured a wide radius around the sphere, marking new dig points with flags and stakes. The sand shifted easily as they worked, but something about the ground felt less natural than before. Every few minutes, one of them would glance back at the sphere, expecting it to move again. Kareem, brushing sand away from the chamber wall, froze suddenly. "Elias!" he called. His voice trembled. Elias jogged over. "What is it?" Kareem ran his fingers along the exposed black wall. "This material," he whispered. "Look closely." Elias leaned in. Under the morning light, tiny streaks of blue shimmered through the black surface, fine glowing veins pulsing gently like blood vessels under human skin. "It's alive?" Mira whispered. "No," Elias said, though his voice wavered. "Not alive, but reactive." Kareem shook his head. "Reactive to what?" "To us." The realization settled over them like a shadow. 2 hours later, a second discovery changed everything. One of the graduate students, Sam, was brushing sand off what she assumed was another section of the chamber wall when her brush scraped against something soft. Soft sand should collapse, but this didn't collapse. It flexed. Her breath hitched. She brushed more rapidly until a thin sheet of material emerged, gray, smooth, and almost cloth-like, though somehow hardened by time. "Mira! Elias! Come here!" They rushed over. Elias knelt beside Sam and touched the strange sheet. It felt like leather, but cooler, firmer, a preserved hide. But from what? "It's not animal skin," Mira said instantly. "Not animals we know," Kareem added. Elias lifted a corner of the sheet. Underneath, something metallic gleamed. A circular plate marked with a series of symbols identical to those on the sphere. Lines curved around the disk, intersecting in complex geometry. "This looks like—" Elias paused. "A seal," Kareem finished. Mira swallowed. "A seal for what?" Elias stared at the buried plate, heart pounding. "For something below." The team widened the hole around the plate, revealing a long, narrow shaft leading downward. The walls of the shaft were smooth and curved, the same black material as the upper chamber, but covered with thin layers of sand blown in over centuries. The shaft emitted a faint resonance, like distant breathing. It felt wrong. Sam leaned over the opening. "It's deep." "Lower the drone," Elias ordered. They powered up a small LED drone, its rotors slicing through the dry air. It descended into the shaft, lights flickering across the walls. 10 feet, 20, 30. At 40 feet, it entered a chamber. A massive chamber. The drone's camera revealed structures, sharp angles, pillars, and something large in the center, covered entirely by sand. Something huge. "What is that?" Mira whispered. The drone tilted forward. A shape protruded from beneath the sand, twisted, skeletal, metallic. "Zoom in," Elias said. The drone zoomed closer, and suddenly the feed glitched. The picture shook violently. "What's happening?" Kareem asked. It spun out of control. A violent burst of static filled the speaker. Then the screen turned black. It had been fried, like the camera the night before. The chamber below didn't want to be seen. Elias lowered himself into the access shaft first.
He insisted on going alone, but Mira and Karim refused to stay behind. They followed him one by one, descending carefully, gripping the edges of the shaft walls. By the time they reached the bottom, the temperature had dropped dramatically. The air felt dense, thick with age. Light from their headlamps cut through the darkness, revealing the chamber around them. It was enormous, far larger than any human-built structure from 4,000 years ago. The ceiling arched overhead, perfectly smooth. Symbols lined the walls in spirals and sequences that made their brains ache to look at. And in the center, the object, a massive structure half buried in the sand. Its form was twisted, organic yet metallic. It looked like a rib cage made of black steel, curved and contorted as though crushed by enormous pressure. "What is that?" Mira whispered. Karim stepped forward. "It looks like—" He couldn't finish the sentence. None of them could, because the longer they stared at the structure, the more it resembled the bones of something that had once been alive, something impossibly large, something not from Earth. Elias approached the rib-like structure. He placed his hand on the metallic surface. It vibrated. Not a simple mechanical vibration. This was rhythmic, pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. He jerked his hand back. "Did you feel that?" he whispered. "Yes," Mira said. "All of us did," Karim added. The structure pulsed again. Boom, boom, boom. Slow, deep, ancient. "It's awake," Mira said. "No," Elias said, voice trembling. "It's remembering." "Remembering what?" Sam asked. Elias swallowed. "Whatever happened here 4,000 years ago." Suddenly the sand beneath their feet shifted, not like normal sand movement. This was deliberate, controlled, like the chamber itself was rearranging. "Back to the shaft!" Elias ordered. They sprinted toward the opening, but before they reached it, a massive section of the chamber floor collapsed inward, revealing another layer beneath. The sound was deafening. The lights flickered. Elias stumbled, falling to one knee as sand poured into the broken cavity. Karim grabbed his arm and pulled him up. The chamber had opened another level below. Mira pointed her flashlight downward. Beneath the collapsed floor, a second structure sat buried. Smaller, rectangular, constructed of the same black material. But this one emitted a glow, a steady blue glow, glowing through thin cracks along the edges, like veins of pure energy. Elias reached a trembling hand toward it. "Elias, don't!" Mira shouted from above. But he wasn't touching it. He didn't need to. The cube reacted on its own. The pulses grew faster. Boom, 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 boom. The blue light brightened to white. A wave of energy burst outward, slamming into Elias's chest. He fell back, gasping as the air filled with static. "What happened?" Karim shouted. Elias stared at the cube in horror. "It's transmitting!" The chamber walls flickered. Thin strands of light spiraled outward, forming shapes, symbols, diagrams, floating holograms suspended in the air. Mira and Karim slid into the lower cavity, joining Elias. The holographic symbols shifted violently, forming a pattern none of them recognized, jagged shapes, spirals, vectors, and a cluster of symbols that repeated over and over. "What is it saying?" Mira whispered. "It's a sequence," Elias murmured, "encoded in cycles." The symbols rearranged. A map appeared, but not of Earth. The star pattern was unfamiliar, clusters and nebulae no human culture ever charted. "What is that?" Karim whispered. "It's a warning," Elias said. He could feel it, deep in his bones. "It's telling us something is coming." The projection shifted again. This time, it displayed something different. A planet. Beautiful, blue, ringed with green and gold. But the next image made them freeze. The planet cracked, splintered, exploded. A wave of darkness radiated outward. "Is that Earth?" Mira whispered, horrified. "No," Elias said, "but whatever happened to that world," he swallowed hard, "was caused by the same thing buried here." The final projection made every muscle in their bodies lock. A silhouette appeared. Tall, elongated, limbs too long, head too narrow, eyes, if they were eyes, glowed like twin suns. The creature stared at them through the hologram. No, not stared, recognized them. Karim stepped back in fear. "What is that?" Elias could barely breathe. He whispered, "A survivor, or a warning of what destroyed their world." The hologram flickered. Then the cube released another burst of energy, stronger this time. The chamber walls trembled, sand fell from above. The holograms collapsed. Darkness returned. But the cube continued pulsing. Faster, faster, faster. "We have to get out," Mira shouted. "No argument," Elias barked. They scrambled up the rope, racing toward the upper chamber. Behind them, the cube's pulsing reached a climax and then stopped. Everything went silent. Too silent. When they reached the surface chamber, the sphere sat quietly, as if waiting. Elias approached it cautiously. "Mira," he whispered, "bring the scanner." She handed him a handheld sensor. He waved it over the sphere's surface. The screen flashed red. "Mira," Elias said. "What does it mean?" Elias swallowed. "The core isn't dormant." Karim clenched his jaw. "Then what's it doing?" Elias looked at the sphere, mind spinning with terror. "It's calling something." The radio crackled. Static. Then a faint tone. Not a sound made by nature. Not a sound made by humans. A signal. Repeating. Responding. The sphere wasn't just transmitting. Something out in the desert was answering. Mira's voice trembled. "Elias, what did we wake up?" Elias stared into the endless dunes. Something moved far in the distance. A ripple in the sand. A shifting shape. Growing larger. Coming toward them. Fast. He whispered, "The thing that buried the artifact." His voice cracked. "And whatever it was running from." The ground vibrated. The sphere pulsed with blue light. The radio crackled. The wind howled suddenly and violently. The desert roared to life. Karim grabbed Elias's arm. "We need to leave, now!" But Elias shook his head. "We can't leave this, if it wakes fully." A thunderous sound split the air. Something enormous moved beneath the sand. A shadow stretched across the dunes. Mira screamed. Karim cursed. Elias stared, heart frozen in terror. Whatever was buried beneath the sand, whatever the sphere had warned them about, whatever destroyed the other world, was no longer sleeping. Elias whispered the only truth he knew. This wasn't just an artifact. He turned toward his terrified team. "It's a lock." Mira's voice cracked. "A lock for what?" Elias looked out over the desert as the ground cracked open. "It's a prison," he said. The dunes split apart. A sound like a dying star screamed through the desert. And we just opened it.
The desert was unnervingly quiet the morning after the sphere sealed itself shut. The air was still. The wind had stopped. Even the usual distant moan of shifting dunes had fallen silent. Elias Rowan stood over the half-buried chamber, staring at the black metallic surface that glinted in the sunlight like a sleeping beast. His hands were shaking, not from exhaustion, but from the knowledge that whatever they had awakened yesterday was not finished with them. He lowered himself into the chamber again, boots scraping softly against the smooth floor. His flashlight swept across the curved walls until it caught something new. Carvings. They hadn't been there before. Thin, shallow etchings ran along the chamber's interior, glowing faintly like dying embers. Elias froze, his breath hitched. "Kareem! Mira! Get down here!" The team climbed into the opening, one by one, eyes widening as the newly formed carvings flickered faintly. The grad researchers whispered nervously. "They weren't there before, right?" "No," Elias said, "and that means the sphere did something." Kareem crouched, running a finger above, never touching the carvings. "They look like writing," he said slowly. "But the script, it's not human." He was right. The lines didn't curve or angle like any language known to history. Instead, they bent geometrically, perfect arcs, sharp turns, repeating spirals, interlocking loops that felt mathematical rather than linguistic. A coded message. A message carved by the sphere itself. A message it wanted them to see. Mira raised her camera to take a photo and stopped. "Anyone else feel that?" Elias nodded. A low vibration pulsed through the chamber again. Not quite sound, not quite motion, something between the two. It felt alive. The carvings brightened faintly with each pulse, like they were reacting to the presence of living beings. "This technology shouldn't exist," Mira whispered. "Nothing 4,000 years old should be doing this." Elias leaned closer. "Unless the people who made it weren't using technology the way we understand it." Kareem exhaled slowly. Meaning that this carving is not just writing, it's an interface. One of the grad students moved his hand toward a spiral-like symbol. "Don't touch," Elias began. Too late. The student's fingers hovered barely an inch above the glowing markings when the entire carving rippled like water disturbed by a pebble. The glowing lines moved. They rearranged themselves in front of their eyes, swirling into new shapes. "Back up," Mira snapped. Elias grabbed the student's shoulder, dragging him away as the carvings twisted again, forming a large central glyph that glowed brighter than the rest. A circle. Inside it, an angular shape. Inside that, an eye-like symbol. The same symbol the sphere projected yesterday. A warning. A sharp hum resonated through the chamber, stronger this time. Sand trickled from the edges of the opening above, as though the dune itself trembled. "What's causing that?" Elias asked sharply. No one answered, until they saw it. The creature glyph, the grotesque carving representing the being from beneath, was glowing. Faint at first, then brighter, then pulsing. Kareem's notebook fell from his hands. "No," he whispered. No. This shouldn't be happening. The carvings reacted to movement above us, not below. This means..." He stopped. They all heard it. A rumble. Low, deep, massive. From below. From very far below. "Something is moving," Mira said, her voice trembling. Elias felt his stomach drop. The chamber was a warning system, a detector,
a message left across millennia. And the creature glyph glowing meant only one thing. The thing buried deep beneath the desert sands was waking up. The carvings rearranged themselves again, spiraling toward the sphere's resting place as though pointing directly at it. Elias rushed to the sphere. "Why would it react now?" he murmured. "What is it detecting?" Kedem translated another glowing line. "It says, the sphere is not a key. It is not a relic. It is not a tool." He looked up. "It is an alarm." Elias stared. "A warning beacon." Kedem nodded. "A signal meant to activate when the creature begins to stir again." Mira swallowed. "So, the sphere didn't turn on because we touched it." Kedem nodded. "It turned on because something below the surface started moving." Silence strangled the chamber. Elias spoke quietly. "How deep does this creature sleep?" Kedem translated one final symbol. "Far beneath the earth," he said, "in caverns older than the desert itself." Elias whispered, "And if it wakes?" Kedem's voice trembled. "It will rise again." At the very bottom of the carving was the last glyph, a symbol that none of them had seen before. A circle, inside it 3 spirals, inside them a single point. Kedem's face turned pale. "I know this symbol," he whispered. "It's been found in cave systems from Turkey to northern Africa. No connection between them, different cultures, different eras." "What does it mean?" Elias asked. Kedem hesitated, then spoke. "It means, stay away." Mira stared at him. "From what?" Kedem pointed to the glowing creature glyph. "From what sleeps below." As if it sensed it had delivered its message, the carvings flickered one final time, then dimmed, then faded, then went completely dark. The chamber grew cold, very cold. The humming stopped, the vibrations ceased. The desert above fell into an unnatural silence. It felt as if the entire world was holding its breath. Elias whispered, "We need to leave." But it was already too late, because the rumbling beneath the sand was getting louder.
For thousands of years, the desert slept. But now, it inhaled. The ground beneath Elias Rowan's boots trembled, not violently, but rhythmically, as if something enormous far below was drawing in slow, deep breaths after a long slumber. Sand shifted around the edges of the chamber, tiny grains cascading like waterfalls. The team froze. No one spoke. No one dared. It wasn't an earthquake. Elias knew exactly what an earthquake felt like. This was different, more controlled, more deliberate, like something with intention, with awareness was moving beneath them. Kareem whispered, "It feels alive." Mira's eyes darted upward. "Is the dune going to collapse on us?" "Maybe, but that's not the immediate problem." He looked at the carvings, now dead and dark, and felt something inside him twist. They had warned them. The ancient ones had screamed through time, and now it was happening again. The vibration halted. For a moment, everything was still. Then, a long, low groan echoed through the chamber walls, like the earth dragging metal against itself miles underground. The grad student, Jenna, pressed her hands over her ears. "Make it stop, please! What is that sound?" Kareem's voice trembled. "It's not sound. It's resonance. Something large, extremely large, is displacing the bedrock." Mira grabbed Elias's arm. "We need to get out!" Elias nodded. "Everyone up, now." One by one, they scrambled up the slope of the chamber, boots slipping in the loose sand. As Elias climbed out last, he saw something that chilled him. Sand all around the dig site was moving uphill. Not sliding down the dune, climbing it, pulled toward the center as if gravity had shifted. "Elias," Mira whispered shakily, pointing toward the horizon. He turned and saw dunes collapsing inward, like waves being drawn toward a drain. Something beneath the desert was pulling them. The sky above remained clear and blue. The sun beat down. Nothing seemed wrong, except everything beneath the surface. Elias steadied himself. "We have to move. If this dune collapses..." Boom. A deep, thunderous pulse surged up from the ground so strong it knocked sand into the air in a huge circular burst. Elias threw himself to the ground as the dune shuddered violently. A shock wave rippled outward, flattening with sand around the site in a perfect ring. Jenna screamed. Kareem fell to his knees. Mira grabbed her pack and yelled, "Go! Move now!" But Elias didn't move. He was staring at the center of the ring, the place directly above the dark chamber. The sand there was not just shaking, it was rising. A mound formed, swelling upward, like something beneath it was pushing too close to the surface. "It's right below us," Elias whispered. Another rumble rolled under their feet, louder, closer, faster. The ground buckled like a rug kicked from underneath. "Run!" Mira shouted. This time, Elias didn't hesitate. They sprinted across the unstable sand, stumbling as the earth lurched beneath them. Behind them, the mound at the center grew, cracking open as sand poured down into widening fissures. The chamber they had discovered, the sphere, the carvings, disappeared beneath a cascading sinkhole. The desert swallowed it whole. A massive plume of dust shot into the air as the dune collapsed. The team raced, coughing, eyes burning, until they were far enough away to see it clearly. A black void now sat where the dune once stood. A crater, 50 feet deep, edges jagged like torn fabric. The desert had been ripped open. Kareen stared, pale and shaking. The chamber wasn't just a warning system, it was a seal. Elias swallowed hard. And it's broken. The crater emitted a faint, eerie hum. Not mechanical, not natural. Something older. A sound that felt like it had shape. Like it was meant to be understood. Mira pressed her hand to her chest. "I feel it inside my bones." Kareem flipped through his notebook with shaking fingers. In the carvings, he said, the spirals represented something returning. The creature, whatever it was, rose from beneath the earth. It brought fire, destruction, collapse. Elias nodded, and they built the seal to keep it contained. Kareem looked up, eyes wide with horror. "And we woke it up." A breeze swept across the crater. Then, suddenly, Elias froze. Footprints. Not theirs. A set of shallow depressions in the sand, perfectly spaced, too long, too narrow, each with 3 elongated impressions at the front. The prints formed a straight line, leading from the crater's edge to the flat desert beyond. Mira's voice cracked. Those weren't there a minute ago." "No," Elias whispered, "and something that left them wasn't human." One of the grad students, Liam, took a step toward the tracks. And the ground beneath him cracked. "Liam!" Mira shouted. The The sand beneath Liam's boots split open in a jagged line stretching toward the crater. A deep rumble followed, and the crack widened like a mouth devouring the desert floor. "Move!" Elias yelled. Liam leapt away just in time. Behind him, the crack grew wider, and something inside it shifted. Something dark, massive, alive. The air turned cold, painfully cold, a cold that didn't belong in the desert. Kareem clamped his hands over his ears. "Do you hear that?" Elias did. Not a sound, a vibration, a frequency that made his teeth ache. The crater's center darkened, as if absorbing the sunlight. Shadows deepened, the sand trembled with each pulse. And then, a single, low, guttural echo rose from beneath the earth. Not an animal sound, not mechanical. Something ancient, something hungry, something that knew they were there. Mira whispered, "It's calling." Elias said quietly, "No, it's waking." A sudden gust of wind blasted across the desert. Then another, then another. Within seconds, sand whipped into a swirling vortex, not natural, not random, but rotating steadily around the crater like a ritual circle. A storm building from the ground up. "Sandstorm," Jenna shouted. "We need to shelter." Elias shook his head. "No, this isn't wind. This is..."
A massive shockwave burst upward from the center of the crater, cutting him off. The vortex spun higher, forming a column of sand that pierced the sky like a pillar. Lightning cracked inside it. Mira staggered backward. "Sand doesn't do that." Kareem's voice trembled. "It does if something is controlling it." The sandstorm wasn't weather. It was a reaction, an awakening. The desert itself was responding. The ground shook again. Then, a sharp metallic sound echoed from beneath the crater. Elias whipped around. That was the sphere. Kareem shook his head. "The chamber collapsed. How could it—" Before he could finish, the sand erupted. A beam of pale blue light shot upward from deep underground, straight through the swirling sandstorm. The light wasn't bright. It was cold, the same eerie glow the sphere emitted when it had opened. Mira shielded her eyes. "What is it doing?" Kareem blinked in horror. "It's sending a signal." Elias clenched his jaw. "To who?" Kareem swallowed. "To whatever built it." Or worse, to call for help, because the ancient seal had been broken, and the ancient creature beneath the earth had begun to rise. The sand exploded. Not up, out. A shockwave blasted the vortex apart, sending sand flying in all directions. The storm dissipated instantly, like someone had hit a switch. In the crater, the ground bulged. Something beneath was pushing upward, climbing, reaching. Jenna screamed, "Something's coming out!" The bulge grew higher, higher, cracking open into jagged splits as sand poured down the sides. Elias grabbed Mira's arm. "Get away from the crater now!" They ran, stumbling over uneven sand. Behind them, from the widening fissure, a massive dark limb emerged. Long, twisted, jointed in ways that defied anatomy, covered in ancient stone-like scales. But worst of all, it moved with intelligence. Not blindly, not instinctively, deliberately. The limb gripped the edge of the crater, claws digging deep into the sand. A second limb followed. The ground shook violently as the creature pulled itself upward. Kareem fell, scrambling backward. "Oh God, what is that? What is that?" Elias pulled him up. "Don't look back! Run!" But even as they fled, the creature climbed higher, its shadow stretching across the desert like a storm cloud. A head emerged, elongated, angular, with ridges that glowed faintly from within. Its eye, if it could be called that, opened slowly,
revealing a vertical slit glowing the same pale blue as the sphere's projection. Mira gasped. It's the symbol! The symbol carved in the chamber, the warning glyph. Not a metaphor, not mythology, a literal depiction of what now rose from the earth. The ancient carvings weren't symbolic murals, they were historical records, and the creature was exactly what they feared. The creature's head lifted. Then, it released a sound. Not a roar, not a scream, a frequency. A deep, vibrating tone that hit the human body like a shockwave. Elias collapsed to his knees, his muscles locking. Mira's hand shook violently. Kareem clutched his call, screaming. The grad students fell, convulsing as the frequency intensified. Elias forced himself up, fighting through the pain. We have to keep moving. The creature turned its head toward them. The tone grew louder. The sand around them began to lift off the ground, suspended in midair in swirling patterns. Elias felt pressure behind his eyes, sharp, unbearable. Blood trickled from Kareem's nose. We can't outrun this, he gasped. But they had to try. The creature's head snapped toward the beam of light still shooting up from the collapsed chamber below. Its eye narrowed. It recognized the signal. It responded. And that terrified Elias more than the creature itself. Kareem shouted over his ringing in the ears. It's drawn to the light, to the sphere. That means... Elias finished for him. The ancient civilization built the sphere to warn them, not humans, them. The sphere wasn't means for humans. It was a message for the ancient beings, the same beings who originally sealed the creature below. And now that the seal had been broken, it knew. The ground shook violently, more violently than before. A second fissure cracked open near the crater, then a third, fourth, fifth. The entire landscape buckled and split as the creature's full mass shifted below. Elias realized with horror, only part of it had emerged. The rest was still underground, and the cracks spreading outward were its limbs moving beneath the sand. Kareem gasped. It's huge! Mira whispered. It's not one creature. Elias froze. She was right. Multiple limbs, multiple fissures, multiple shadows shifting beneath the sand. This wasn't one being. It was many. Or worse, it was one creature with countless limbs stretching for miles beneath the earth. Elias knew they had seconds, not minutes, seconds. We need to reach the ledge, he yelled. Move! The team sprinted toward a rocky outcrop in the distance as the desert floor cracked open behind them. The creature raised its head fully above the crater. Its towering silhouette blocked the sun. Its elongated skull opened slightly, splitting down the center like insect mandibles. And it made that sound again, the paralyzing, bone-deep frequency. Elias stumbled but forced himself onward, grabbing Mira and hauling her forward. Behind them, the creature lifted one colossal arm-like appendage and slammed it into the ground. A shockwave blasted across the desert. Sand turned to airborne dust. Rocks split apart. The team was thrown violently to the ground. Elias rolled, coughing, eyes stinging. Then he saw the creature turning toward them. It had noticed. It had focused. It had chosen its first target. Them. The head tilted. The limbs retracted. The cracks in the sand shifted as the creature rotated its massive body, still mostly underground, toward the fleeing humans. It moved slowly, not because it struggled, but because it was savoring the moment. Ancient carvings flashed in Elias's mind. Fire, destruction, collapsed civilizations, cities swallowed whole. If this thing reached the surface fully, millions would die. Mira gasped. Elias, we can't outrun that. He looked back at her. I know. Then looked forward again, toward the only hope they had, the rocky ridge. We don't have to outrun it. We just need to make it to the rocks before the sand gives way. Kareem screamed, Hurry! The entire desert is collapsing! Elias didn't look back. He just ran. The creature's limbs smashed down again, and the desert split apart entirely. Miles of sand collapsed inward like a giant throat opening. The creature rose higher. Its body, massive, ancient, and wrong, glowed faintly with that pale blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ridge was close. 20 feet, 10 feet. Elias reached the base and shoved Mira upward. "Climb!" Kareem and Jenna scrambled behind her. The ground beneath Elias sagged, then began to fall. He leapt, grabbing a rock ledge, just as the sand beneath him dropped into a yawning abyss. He scrambled up, Mira pulling him the last few feet. They collapsed on the stone ridge and watched in horror as the desert where they stood moments ago was swallowed by darkness. The creature emerged further, towering in the sinking sand. Elias whispered, "Oh my God." Kareem whispered, "It's not fully awake yet." Mira said nothing. She knew the truth. It was waking faster, every second. The creature turned away from the ridge, not because it ignored them, but because something else had caught its attention. The horizon. Civilization. Elias understood instantly. It wasn't hunting them. It was heading for the nearest population center. And the ancient carvings had been right. When it wakes, it returns to finish what it started. Kareem stared in horror. "It's heading toward people." Mira covered her mouth. "We have to warn someone." Elias stood slowly. His voice was quiet, steady, cold. "We're not warning anyone." They turned to him, confused. Elias looked out over the collapsing desert. "I'm not warning anyone. We're stopping it." Kareem shook his head. "Elias, how? Look at it. This thing is beyond anything." Elias nodded. "I know." He looked at the collapsing crater, at the ruins of the sphere beneath, at the ancient warning system now dead. But the ones who built this chamber, they knew how to contain it. He pointed toward the faint glow still flickering deep below the crater. "And their technology isn't completely gone." Mira's eyes widened. "You think the sphere left something behind?" Elias nodded. "A failsafe." He turned toward the team. "We have to go back into the crater." Kareem stared at him. "That's suicide." Elias looked at the monstrous creature pulling its massive body out of the earth in the distance. "And if we don't," he said quietly, "the rest of the world dies." Fade out.
The crater loomed before them like an open wound in the desert. Smoke and dust still swirled above its jagged edges, carrying the scent of raw, upturned earth. Below, the faint glow of blue light pulsed from the depth where the sphere had once rested. Elias Rowan stared at it, teeth clenched. The creature was partially risen, but it had paused, attention elsewhere. That small window, tiny and fleeting, was all they had. "We go back in," Elias said. His voice was steady, but the weight behind it was enormous. Mira stared. "You want to go down there? Into the collapsing crater? With that thing rising?" "Yes," Elias didn't hesitate. "There's a mechanism buried beneath it. The ancient civilization built it as a failsafe. If we don't activate it, nothing survives." Kareem swallowed hard. "You're talking about technology we don't even understand. It could kill us instantly. Or it could save the world." The team took a moment to absorb that. Dust tumbled around them as sand still shifted from tremors deep underground. Then, with grim determination, they began their descent. The edges of the crater were treacherous. Loose sand cascaded underfoot, threatening to throw anyone into the gaping maw below. Elias led, rope in hand, climbing carefully down jagged ridges exposed by the collapse. Mira followed close behind, pulling Kareem and the grad students down step by step. The crater's interior was enormous, far larger than they had imagined. Blackened walls of compacted sand and metal shards formed twisted curves, remnants of the chamber and surrounding dune. The blue glow at the bottom beckoned like a lure, pulsing with steady rhythm.
Elias could feel it in his bones. It wasn't just light, it was intentional energy. Something alive and conscious remained beneath the debris. A low hum resonated from below, vibrating through their chest cavities. They froze. It was the mechanism itself, or what remained of it, reacting to their presence. At the crater floor, the team found a massive slab of black material partially unearthed. Embedded in it were circular nodes, thin veins of glowing blue, and carved glyphs identical to the ones in the collapsed chamber above. Kareem knelt. These nodes, they're like the carvings, reactive. They pulse with something alive. Mira stepped closer. Alive? It's metal, Elias. How is it alive? Elias didn't answer. He examined the slab carefully. The pattern formed a spiral, converging on a small cavity at its center. The cavity emitted faint pulses in sync with the sphere's previous light bursts. It's a control hub, Elias said finally. The ancient civilization built this to regulate or contain whatever is rising now. A tremor rippled beneath them, sending dust into the air. Sand and stone shifted, and the team nearly fell as the ground quivered. Kareem's eyes widened. The mechanism, it's reacting to the creature. Yes, Elias said, and if we can activate it, we can stop it before it fully surfaces. Elias examined the cavity in the slab. Inside, a cube-like structure glowed faintly, similar to the sphere but smaller. Its edges pulsed with rhythmic blue light, almost like a heartbeat. This is it, Elias whispered. The core of the failsafe. Mira hesitated. How do we even turn it on? We follow the carvings, Elias said, pointing to the nodes and glyphs. They're instructions, encoded for anyone who finds this. It's designed to respond to living presence and conscious intent. Kareem frowned. Intent? That's not exactly something we can just do. Watch, Elias said. He reached toward the cube. His hand hovered over it. The nodes glowed brighter. Pulses accelerated. The veins of light along the slab reacted to his touch. Don't! Mira shouted, but it was too late. The cube pulsed, sending ripples of energy through the slab. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming a sequence on the surface. They were moving now, converging toward a spiral that mirrored the carvings in the chamber above. The ground quaked beneath them. The creature from earlier let out a low, resonant sound from the distance, its attention partially drawn back to the crater. Elias steadied himself. It's working. The mechanism is responding. From the crater's edge, a shadow moved. The creature had fully emerged. Its elongated limbs stretched like roots across the desert floor. The jagged, scaled head turned toward them, glowing eyes fixed on the glowing cube. It knows we're here, Mira said. Her voice trembled. Yes, Elias said grimly, and it's coming. The slab beneath their feet vibrated violently. The cube pulsed brighter and faster. Veins of light streaked across the ground like lightning. The mechanism was alive, awakened by their presence. The first limb of the creature slammed into the desert floor, sending a shockwave that knocked the grad students off their feet. Dust and debris filled the air, making it nearly impossible to see. Elias held Mira's hand. We have to finish activating it now. There's no more time. Kareem leaned over the cube, examining the glyphs and pulses. The sequence, it's not just symbols. It's a code, a series of precise patterns that control the energy flow. You can do it? Mira asked desperately. I can try, Kareem said, voice shaking. He followed the spiraling glyphs with his fingers, memorizing the pulse pattern. Elias reached out and aligned the cube with the central cavity. Light streaked outward, connecting nodes like circuits.
The slab vibrated, humming louder. The creature roared, echoing across the desert. Sand spiraled around its limbs as it moved closer. Kareem called out the sequence, mimicking the pulses with his hands above the cube. The mechanism responded, glowing brighter. Symbols carved into the slab realigned, forming a complete spiral of light and glyphs that pulsed in synchronization with the cube. Elias felt the energy surge beneath his feet, almost lifting him off the ground. "It's working," he shouted. The cube's light intensified, bathing the crater in a blinding blue. The veins of the slab seemed to flow like liquid, transmitting energy in every direction. The creature shrieked, a sound that vibrated in their bones. It stomped the desert floor, but the energy from the mechanism formed a barrier, a wave of pure force that kept it from advancing. Dust and sand swirled violently around them. The air crackled with static. Elias and the team clung to the slab for balance. "Keep going," Elias yelled. "We're almost there." Kareem's fingers moved faster, completing the final sequence. Symbols aligned. The cube pulsed in perfect synchronization. A deep resonance filled the desert. Low, powerful, and commanding. The creature recoiled, staggering as if hit by an invisible force. Its limbs sank partially back into the earth. Sand collapsed under its weight as the mechanism exerted control. Elias felt the ground shift violently beneath him. The cube glowed brighter than ever, radiating energy like a heartbeat amplified 1,000 times. The creature roared again, louder, almost deafening. Its scaled head tilted back as it struggled against the invisible force emanating from the cube. Sand and debris shot into the air as it attempted to claw its way forward. The mechanism pulsed faster, like it was straining to hold the creature down. Mira shouted, "It's too strong! It's breaking through!" Elias clenched his teeth. "Don't let go! It's fighting the seal!" The energy pulse expanded outward, creating a dome of light over the crater. The creature's limbs thrashed violently, trying to break free. Kareem focused, chanting the pulse sequence over and over, hands trembling. "Almost there! Hold steady!" Finally, the cube emitted a final blinding pulse. The creature froze mid-motion, suspended by an invisible pulsating barrier of energy. Its roar reverberated, then cut off abruptly. The desert went silent. The creature sunk slowly into the earth, pulled down by the mechanism. Sand and rock collapsed around it, burying most of its massive body once more. Its head disappeared beneath the surface last, leaving only the glowing fissures in the desert as proof of its presence. The cube's light dimmed to a steady blue, then slowly faded. The slab's veins became faint, almost dormant. The mechanism had done its job. For now. Elias slumped to his knees, exhausted. Mira and Kareem joined him, breathing heavily. "It's contained," Elias whispered. "But it's not gone. Not completely." Kareem nodded. "The mechanism holds it, but only as long as the sequence remains intact. If anything disrupts it..." Elias shook his head.
We'll deal with that later. Right now, we survive. Mira placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. We survived, and we know the truth. That ancient civilization built a weapon and a failsafe. Yes, Elias said, and now we understand why the carvings were warnings, not just for them, but for anyone who comes after. The desert returned to its quiet state. The crater, though scarred and jagged, stood as a tomb for the creature below, and the mechanism waited, dormant, pulsing faintly, guarding its ancient prisoner. Exhausted but alive, the team climbed the crater's edge. Sand and dust still swirled in the distance, but the creature was contained. The desert seemed normal, almost serene. Mira whispered, almost to herself, "We've seen what humanity was never meant to witness." Elias nodded, "And now we're responsible for it, for keeping it contained or letting it free. Kareem muttered, "The carvings, the sphere, the mechanism. They left all this for a reason. They trusted someone or something to finish the job." Elias looked out over the desert. The sun was beginning to set. Shadows stretched long over the dunes, hiding fissures and secrets beneath the sand. "We finished today," he said quietly. "But the world hasn't seen the half of it yet." The wind picked up, carrying with it a faint hum from beneath the desert floor, a reminder that the creature slept, restrained, but not destroyed. The team left the crater, scars and memories etched into their minds. Behind them, the ancient mechanism pulsed faintly, waiting for the next disturbance.
The desert had returned to a fragile calm. The wind swept over the dunes, carrying only the soft hiss of shifting sand. Yet beneath the surface, a low hum persisted, a pulse that Elias Rowan could feel in his chest, like a heartbeat of the earth itself. The team trudged across the desert, keeping their eyes on the horizon. Every step reminded them of the creature still buried beneath the sand, restrained only by the ancient mechanism. Mira broke the silence. "We contained it, but how do we make sure it never comes back?" Kareem, still shaken from the ordeal, replied, "The carvings, the cube, they left a map, encoded in the symbols. If we can understand it fully, maybe we can trace where this creature came from and understand its purpose." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we need to start with the symbols. They're not just warnings, they're instructions, they're history. And history might be the key to stopping it for good." Back at their temporary base, Elias spread out photographs of the carvings and the symbols etched on the mechanism. Each line, each spiral, each jagged form seemed to pulse with hidden intent. Kareem crouched over a set of photos from the chamber. "Look here," he said, pointing to a sequence repeated across multiple walls. "This spiral connects to a triangle, then an eye, then a branching form. It's consistent with the sequence on the mechanism." Mira leaned closer. "Do you think they were using these symbols like coordinates?" Kareem's eyes widened. "Coordinates, yes, but not in the way we understand them. These are symbolic maps, layered with information about geology, terrain, and possibly energy signatures." Elias studied the images. "So the carvings are telling a story of the creature's origin and spread, each sequence a chapter." The room fell silent. The enormity of their discovery sank in. Kareem flipped through his notes. "Spirals are often used in ancient cultures to signify cycles, energy, or movement. Triangles can indicate direction or stability. Eyes are warning symbols or recognition of intelligence. The branching forms represent something spreading, territory, influence, or something organic." Elias ran a finger across a photograph. "So the carvings are telling a story of the creature's origin and spread, each sequence a chapter." Mira's voice was quiet but firm. "Then understanding the sequence might tell us why it exists, not just where it is." Kareem nodded grimly. "Exactly. But each node is likely guarded by natural barriers, and perhaps the creature's influence still lingers there." Elias swallowed. "Then every site we investigate is a trap. We have to proceed carefully." Excavating deeper into the first chamber, the team uncovered strange artifacts. Bones, partially fossilized, not entirely human. Shards of black metallic material identical to the original mechanism, and traces of an unknown energy that made the hairs on their arms stand on end. Mira held a fragment to the sunlight. This material, it's like the cube, but older, rougher, partially eroded with time. Karim shivered. These are the pieces of the original civilization's mechanisms. They were trying to record, contain, and warn simultaneously.
Elias examined the carvings, and they left us the map. Every site tells the story of its origin and its spread. If we can follow it, we can anticipate what it does next. The desert wind whispered through the chamber. It felt alive. A pulse beneath the sand reminded them the creature's influence was still present. Their next destination lay hundreds of miles away, further along the mapped sequence. Satellite scans revealed another buried chamber, this one partially collapsed, its carvings almost entirely eroded. Karim studied the remaining glyphs. The sequence continues here. Spirals, branching lines. The creature's path is becoming clearer. This is the second node. Its influence is stronger here. Look at the soil anomalies. Elias frowned. The earth itself reacts to its presence. This isn't just history, it's active. Mira swallowed. If it's active, then maybe our containment of the first creature was temporary. And if we disrupt the sequence... Elias nodded grimly. We risk awakening more. Over weeks of fieldwork, the team visited multiple nodes across continents. Each site revealed more carvings, more fragments of mechanisms, and increasingly clear maps of the creature's origin. Karim noted patterns. The sequences show migration, cycles of awakening and containment, and eventually converge in a central location, its birthplace. Mira gasped. A single origin? That means all these centuries, all these warnings lead to one place. Elias stared at the map. And that place, we'll find the core of the creature there. Karim nodded. Yes, the place it emerged from and where the civilization first attempted containment. The desert's whispers followed them even now, a warning echoing across millennia. Elias gathered the team around the last node they had surveyed. We've mapped the creature's path symbol by symbol. Now we know its origin. Now we know where it sleeps, where it first emerged, and where the civilization built its first failsafe. Mira's eyes were wide with fear and determination. And that's where we go next? Elias nodded. Yes, we'll find the source, the mechanism, and if we're careful, we can contain it permanently. Karim added quietly, or we trigger something far worse. Elias's jaw tightened. We have no choice. This creature has been moving unseen for thousands of years. If we don't finish what the civilization started... Mira finished his thought. Millions could die. The desert stretched endlessly before them, but beneath the sand, the symbols pulsed faintly, an ancient map waiting for its travelers to complete the journey. The team readied themselves, mapping their course to the creature's origin. The symbols, once warnings, now guided them. Every glyph, every spiral, every branching line was a step closer to understanding and controlling the unimaginable power that slept beneath the earth. The desert hummed, almost approvingly, as if it knew the final confrontation was approaching. The journey to the creature's birthplace and to the civilization's most powerful mechanism had begun.
The sun barely pierced the morning haze as Elias Rowan and his team approached the final node on their symbol map. Stretching before them was a desert plateau unlike any they had traversed, a jagged expanse of rock interspersed with dunes, the sand unusually fine and shimmering faintly with traces of blue light beneath the surface. "This is it," Elias whispered, scanning the horizon. "The birthplace." Karim adjusted his gear, pointing at the faint depression scattered across the plateau. "Look at the terrain. The symbols predicted this. See the alignment. Every ridge, every fissure corresponds to a glyph in the carvings. Whoever built the sequence, they knew the topography intimately. Mira frowned, and beneath this, the first mechanism waits. Elias nodded. Exactly. This is the origin. If the civilization built fail-safes at each node, this is the one that started it all. The first containment, and it's still here, buried, waiting. The team began carefully excavating the shallow depressions. Dust and fine sand tumbled into the air, leaving a faint glow that reflected off fragments of stone partially buried beneath. Karim's scanner beeped frantically. There's something massive down there. The slab, it's enormous. I'd estimate at least 40 feet across. And whatever it's made of, it's resonating with the same frequency as the cube we found at the crater. Mira swallowed nervously. So it's alive, like the other one. Elias ran his hand along a partially exposed edge. Strange glyphs and spirals shimmered faintly, their carvings pulsing as if aware of their presence. It's more than alive. It's responsive. The mechanism senses us. We have to be careful. One wrong step, and... A low hum began vibrating through the plateau. The sand beneath their feet quivered. The mechanism was awakening, reacting to their proximity. Karim's scanner beeped frantically. There's something massive down there. The slab. It's enormous. I'd estimate at least 40 feet across. And whatever it's made of, it's resonating with the same frequency as the cube we found at the crater. Mira swallowed nervously. So it's alive, like the other one. Elias ran his hand along a partially exposed edge. Strange glyphs and spirals shimmered faintly, their carvings pulsing as if aware of their presence. It's more than alive. It's responsive. The mechanism senses us. We have to be careful. One wrong step, and... A low hum began vibrating through the plateau. The sand beneath their feet quivered. The mechanism was awakening, reacting to their proximity. Karim pointed at the center of the unearthed slab. A circular cavity glimmered faintly. That's the core, the energy hub. Elias nodded. If we can reactivate it, we might be able to contain the creature permanently. But we have to synchronize with the sequence precisely. One mistake. The slab vibrated, and the first pulse of energy shot upward, illuminating the glyphs. Blue veins of light traced intricate patterns across the stone, flowing like molten metal through the carvings. Mira stepped back. It's beautiful, but terrifying. Karim reached forward. We need to map the pulse to the symbols. If we follow the original sequence, we can trigger the containment protocol. It's all here, just waiting. Elias studied the pulsations, noting the timing and intensity. The mechanism remembers. It reacts to intent and rhythm. Our focus has to match the original activation sequence exactly. Hours passed as the team worked to align the symbols and match the energy pulses. Each glyph had to be touched in a precise order, each spiral traced in the exact direction. Karim guided the process, spiral clockwise, then triangle, then eye, then branching line. Repeat. The pattern is iterative. One misstep, and the mechanism might overload or shut down completely. Mira's fingers trembled as she traced the final glyph. This is it. Last one. Elias's voice was steady. Now focus. Synchronize your intent. Let the mechanism respond. The slab pulsed faster. Light veins traveled at incredible speed, converging at the core. A deep, resonating hum rose from the stone, vibrating the air and their very bones. The circular cavity in the center of the slab glowed with a blinding blue light. Energy shot upward, connecting to smaller nodes around the chamber, creating a lattice of power that extended through the desert floor. Mira stepped back, shielding her eyes. It's alive. It's fully awake. Mira gasped. Look at the glyphs. They're moving. The carvings. They're shifting, almost breathing. Karim whispered. The civilization encoded it with intelligence. The mechanism isn't just energy, it thinks. The hum deepened, becoming a low, powerful resonance. Sand lifted slightly, floating above the stone as if gravity had softened. The first mechanism had reactivated. Miles away, the partially risen creature from the crater trembled violently. Its scaled limbs dug into the desert floor as blue veins of energy pulsed across its body. The activation of the first mechanism reverberated through its subconscious. "It knows," Mira said, her voice tight. "It feels the pulse." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then we have a window. It may struggle, but the mechanism can restrain it again, permanently, if we complete the sequence." The creature's roar echoed faintly in the distance, a sound that carried through the desert, unsettling sand, stone, and air alike. Karim guided the team to activate secondary nodes around the main slab. Each smaller node required precise timing, aligning pulses with the primary mechanism. Misalignment could destabilize the entire network. Elias counted each pulse. Now, left node, right node, spiral center, triangle edge, go. Blue energy surged from the nodes, forming a grid of luminous veins across the desert. The hum deepened, blending into a singular resonance that felt like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Mira felt the energy coursing through the ground. "It's like the desert itself is alive." Karim nodded. "It is. The civilization designed the mechanism to integrate with the environment, to use the planet's energy to contain the creature." The desert trembled violently. The creature, sensing the mechanism, thrashed against the earth, sending tremors through the plateau. Dust and sand erupted from fissures, revealing the scale of its subterranean form. "It's fighting back," Mira shouted. Elias braced himself. "Keep the sequence precise. Don't falter." Veins of energy shot from the slab, striking the fissures, attempting to suppress the creature's movements. The ground quaked with each pulse. The hum grew into a deafening roar as the mechanism struggled to contain the creature. Karim's hands shook, guiding the pulse sequence across the nodes. It's too strong. The system might overload." Elias shouted, "No, focus. We're almost there." After what felt like hours, the team synchronized the final node with the main slab. Energy pulses converged at the core, creating a massive field of light and resonance that shot deep into the desert floor. The creature thrashed violently, partially emerging from the sand, but the energy lattice held it in place. Its roar echoed across the plateau, but the mechanism's force restrained its movement. Blue veins of light stretched for miles, forming a web that stabilized the desert's trembling. The first mechanism had reactivated, and its containment field had expanded, pulling the creature back underground. Gradually, the creature sank completely beneath the desert. Tremors ceased. The energy lattice stabilized. The blue glow of the mechanism dimmed to a steady pulse, its work complete. Elias collapsed, breathing heavily. "It's contained. For now." Mira looked around. "For now? How long will it hold?" Karim shook his head. "The mechanism is ancient, powerful, but not invincible. Any disruption could awaken it again." Elias stared at the glowing glyphs. "Then we must document everything, every sequence, every node, every pulse. If this fails again, we need to be ready." As they surveyed the plateau, Elias understood the scope of their discovery. The civilization that built these mechanisms had left a trail of symbols across continents for millennia, each site a node in a vast containment network. Mira whispered, "They tried to keep it contained forever, but no civilization lasts forever." Elias nodded, "Exactly. And now we're the stewards. We have the map, the sequence, and the knowledge. But responsibility comes with it. One mistake, one misalignment, and it could rise again." Karim added,
And if there are other creatures, other mechanisms we haven't found? Elias's jaw tightened. Then we find them, and we finish the work they started. Karim examined the glyphs carved into the slab. Notice this, a spiral leading into a jagged line, then branching outward. It's a warning. The mechanism contains, but it also
monitors. The creature's essence could attempt to escape at weak points. Mira looked over his shoulder. Then the glyphs aren't just a map, they're a caution. They tell us what to watch for, how it behaves. Elias studied the carvings. Every symbol, every pulse, every node. It's a story of containment and failure. And now, we're part of that story. With the first mechanism fully reactivated, the team rested briefly. Equipment hummed faintly, powered by the residual energy of the slab. The desert seemed calm, almost serene, but the pulse beneath their feet reminded them of what slept below. Elias addressed the group. This was the first mechanism. There may be others. We've learned how to synchronize the nodes, how to reactivate the failsafes, but the ultimate origin of the creature, the core, still lies ahead. Mira's eyes were steely. Then that's where we go next. Elias nodded. We follow the symbols. We trace the path to the source, and we finish what this civilization started thousands of years ago. The desert stretched endlessly, but beneath the sand, the first mechanism pulsed steadily, a dormant guardian waiting for the next test. The team prepared to continue their journey, armed with knowledge, symbols, and the reactivated first mechanism. They had faced the creature, survived its rise, and activated the failsafe that contained it. But the desert whispered a warning. The story was far from over. The symbol still held secrets. The mechanism still waited, and the creature's origin, the ultimate threat, remained hidden deep beneath the earth. The path ahead would test everything they had learned, pushing them to the edge of human endurance and understanding. The journey to the ultimate source of the ancient threat had only just begun.
The desert stretched endlessly, pale dunes blending into jagged stone ridges. After reactivating the first mechanism, Elias Rowan and his team set out to trace the energy lines connecting the ancient failsafes. Each pulse of the slab beneath the birthplace served as a beacon, faintly resonating through the earth. Karim examined the geophysical readings. The energy is traveling along specific conduits, subterranean channels that follow the patterns encoded in the symbols. These lines extend for hundreds of miles, connecting ancient sites. Mira squinted at the horizon. So these channels, they're like roads or veins carrying power across the desert? Elias nodded. Exactly. The civilization built a network to monitor and contain the creature. By tracing these lines, we can locate the source, the core of its energy. That's where the final mechanism must be. The team used ground-penetrating sensors, magnetometers, and energy resonance detectors to map the underground conduits. Every node along the network radiated faint blue pulses. The further they went, the stronger the readings became. Karim overlaid the data on their digital map. Look at this. The lines converge here, then split into smaller tributaries. The energy distribution is precise, almost like a circulatory system. Mira's voice was hushed. So these channels, they're like roads or veins carrying power across the desert? Elias nodded. Exactly. The civilization built a network to monitor and contain the creature. By tracing these lines, we can locate the source, the core of its energy. That's where the final mechanism must be. The team used ground-penetrating sensors, magnetometers, and energy resonance detectors to map the underground conduits. Every node along the network radiated faint blue pulses. The further they went, the stronger the readings became. Karim overlaid the data on their digital map. Look at this. The lines converge here, then split into smaller tributaries. The energy distribution is precise,
almost like a circulatory system. Mira's voice was hushed. And the largest convergence point. That must be where the creature's core resides. Elias studied the network. Yes, the civilization built multiple mechanisms along the lines to monitor and contain it, but they left clues in the symbols so that anyone capable could trace the path and reactivate them. As they moved along the mapped energy lines, the desert itself seemed to respond. Tremors occasionally shook the sand, and faint blue lights flickered beneath the surface. Mira whispered, "It's like the desert knows we're following the lines." Kareem nodded, "Or the mechanism is communicating with us, guiding our path." Elias adjusted his binoculars. "Stay alert. Every shift in the earth, every pulse is a warning. If the creature detects this activity, it may reactivate prematurely." The wind swept across the dunes, carrying an almost audible hum, like the pulse of the mechanisms resonating through miles of desert. Several hours into their expedition, the team discovered faint depressions in the sand. Kareem scanned the area with the resonance detector. Multiple nodes, buried and dormant. This network extends further than we realized. The first mechanism isn't the only failsafe. Elias crouched beside a partially exposed node. These nodes are aligned perfectly with the symbols. Each glyph marks a conduit, each spiral marks an intersection. Whoever designed this, they were meticulous. Mira traced the glyphs on the stone. It's a language of containment, not just warnings, but instructions encoded into the landscape itself. Kareem tapped the sensor. If we can reactivate these nodes in sequence, we can trace the lines all the way to the source. But one wrong step, and it could overload the network or alert the creature. The first secondary node they reached was partially buried beneath sandstone. Elias and the team cleared the debris, revealing a carved stone slab similar to the first mechanism. Kareem examined the carvings. The sequence here mirrors the birthplace node. Spirals, triangles, eyes, branching lines, but it's smaller, less complex. This is a relay mechanism. Elias nodded. Relay node, amplify the energy and transmit the signal along the lines. Activating this will help us trace the path to the source. They followed the pulse sequence meticulously. When activated, the node emitted a deep resonance, sending a wave of energy through the desert. Blue veins of light traced the conduits beneath the sand, illuminating the path ahead. Mira whispered, "It's like it's showing us the path, like a map in real time." As the team moved along the newly illuminated energy lines, signs of the creature's past influence became apparent. Unnatural depressions, twisted rock formations, and partially fossilized remains of strange creatures littered the desert floor. Kareem examined a skeletal fragment. These aren't human, and they predate any known civilization. Whatever the creature touches, it leaves traces in time itself. Elias nodded grimly. The symbols are warnings for a reason. Each node we activate, each line we trace brings us closer, but also awakens its awareness. Mira shivered. So every pulse we send, every energy line we follow, it's like leaving a breadcrumb trail for a predator. Hours later, they encountered a node that had been damaged, its carvings eroded. When they scanned it, the resonance detector spiked. Kareem stepped back. This node, it's partially corrupted. The energy readings are unstable. If we try to reactivate it, it could overload and disrupt the entire network. Elias studied the glyphs. This is intentional. The civilization must have known some nodes would fail. The lines can guide us, but we have to adapt. Mira's voice was tense. Adapt or die. This is the first real warning we've seen of what happens when the network is tampered with. Elias carefully adjusted the pulse sequence, using the readings from the birthplace and secondary nodes as a reference. He directed Kareem to stabilize the energy lines by synchronizing the pulses manually. Blue light surged from the node, tracing the conduits to nearby intersections. The pulse lines realigned, revealing the path to the next node. Mira whispered, "It's showing us the path, like a map in real time." As the team continued tracing the energy lines, the creature's past influence became apparent. Unnatural depressions,
Twisted rock formations and partially fossilized remains of strange creatures littered the desert floor. Karim overlaid the glyph map on their tablet. The lines converge here. All paths lead to a single location. This is it, the origin of the energy, the creature's core. The final mechanism must be buried there. Elias's jaw tightened, and it won't be unguarded. The energy will be strongest here, and the creature, or its influence, will be immediate. Mira whispered, "This is where we face the truth, the source of all this horror." They reached a plateau with faint blue veins pulsing beneath the sand, forming a perfect circular pattern. At the center, a mound of earth shimmered faintly as though alive. Karim's scanner went wild. "The energy! It's immense! The final mechanism is here, but it's buried too deep to see without excavation. And the readings, they suggest it's partially active." Elias crouched, examining the surface. Glyphs are etched into the exposed stone edges, spirals leading into branching lines, triangles pointing inward. It's a warning and a guide. Whoever built this left instructions on how to reactivate it safely. Safe? In this desert? You mean relative safety? Elias nodded grimly. Exactly. One wrong step, and it could overload the network or destroy the entire network. The team set up their equipment, ground-penetrating sensors, excavation tools, and energy stabilizers. The pulse lines traced across the desert formed a luminous web that indicated the precise excavation path. Karim studied the readings. "We need to follow the lines exactly. Any deviation could trigger a resonance cascade." Mira checked the backup equipment. "And if it reacts, we have to be ready to contain it immediately." Elias surveyed the desert. "This is the final stretch. We trace the energy lines to the source, uncover the mechanism, and prepare for what may come next. One mistake could be fatal." The desert wind carried a faint hum, echoing the pulse lines beneath the sand, a warning and a guide. With precision and care, they began digging along the pulse-guided path. The earth shifted slightly beneath their tools, but the energy lines held steady, illuminating the conduit network in faint blue light.
Karim pointed to a faint glow beneath the central mound. "That's it! The final mechanism! We're almost there!" Mira's voice trembled. "And the creature, it knows we're here. Can you feel it?" Elias nodded. "Yes, but we have to keep moving. The network is our guide, our containment system, and our only chance to survive what's beneath." As they uncovered the final mechanism, the energy pulses from all the previously activated nodes converged at the central hub. Veins of blue light stretched across miles of desert, tracing the conduits like glowing rivers. The mechanism was massive, partially embedded in bedrock. Spirals, triangles, eyes, and branching glyphs etched into its surface pulsed with immense energy. Karim whispered, "This is the core, the heart of the network, and the creature's origin." Elias swallowed. "And we have to activate it, or everything we've done will be meaningless." The team stood before the ancient mechanism, tracing the energy lines that connected it to every node they had reactivated. The desert hummed, alive with the converging pulses. Every glyph, every spiral, every branch told a story of containment, warning, and power. And at the center lay the final challenge: to understand the mechanism fully and confront the source of the creature. The path had been traced, the network illuminated, the final mechanism awaited. The next step would determine whether the civilization's legacy would succeed, or if the ancient terror would rise once more.
Elias Rowan and his team finally stood at the central hub of the ancient network. The final mechanism towered before them, half buried in desert bedrock. Blue veins of energy pulsed along its glyph-covered surface, connecting it to every node they had activated. Karim scanned the readings, eyes wide. "The energy levels here, it's off the charts. If we misstep, we could trigger a catastrophic release." Mira stepped closer, her hand hovering over the glyphs. It's alive, like the other mechanisms, but on a completely different scale. It's almost conscious. Elias nodded. This is the culmination of everything we've done. Every symbol, every pulse, every node leads here. This mechanism contains the origin, the source of the creature itself. The glyphs on the mechanism were complex beyond comprehension. Spirals nested within triangles, branching lines connecting eyes, and pulsating nodes that seemed to move slightly under their gaze. Kareem tapped the surface with a scanning device. Each glyph reacts to energy input, aligning with the network. It's designed to interpret our actions and intentions, not just physical input. Mira frowned. So we can't just push buttons. We have to think like the civilization that built it. Elias traced a spiral with his fingers. Exactly. These glyphs aren't just symbols. They're instructions, sequences, and safeguards encoded into the mechanism itself. The civilization built intelligence into it. As they studied the mechanism, Elias pieced together its purpose. This isn't just a containment device. It's a regulator, a monitor, and a fail-safe. It observes the creature, restrains it, and adapts to any breach in the network. Kareem added, "It's like the network itself is a living organism. Each node is a nerve ending, each glyph a command, and the core, the brain." Mira swallowed. "And we have to unlock it without angering the brain, or the creature it's controlling." Elias nodded grimly. One wrong pulse, one misaligned sequence, and the entire desert could become a tomb. Elias instructed the team to focus on the primary glyph sequence, the one at the very center of the mechanism. Each symbol had to be touched and energized in perfect order, aligned with the network pulses traced from the other nodes. Kareem began manipulating the energy conduits, feeding precise pulses into the glyphs. Blue veins lit up, flowing across the mechanism in synchronization. Mira whispered, "It's responding, almost like it recognizes us." The air vibrated with the mechanism's resonance. Sand around the base lifted slightly, and the faint hum of energy intensified. The first sequence of pulses surged through the mechanism, traveling along the veins to all previously activated nodes. The desert seemed to come alive, glowing faintly as energy rippled through the conduits. Elias's voice was steady. "Keep the sequence flowing. Watch the glyphs. They'll guide us." Kareem carefully adjusted timing and intensity. The glyphs are delicate. One misstep could overload the mechanism or trigger a defensive response from the creature. Mira's fingers hovered over a spiral glyph. "It's almost like it's breathing, waiting for us to understand it." Suddenly, the central core pulsed violently. Blue light surged outward, illuminating the desert as far as the eye could see. The veins of energy flowed through every node, converging at the mechanism like rivers meeting the sea. The ground trembled. A low resonating hum filled the air, vibrating the bones of everyone present. Kareem shouted over the sound, "It's reacting to our intent! The sequence isn't just mechanical, it's cognitive!" Elias adjusted the glyph alignment with precision. "Then we synchronize our thoughts, our focus with the pattern. We have to think like the builders." The team concentrated, visualizing the sequence as they followed the glyphs. Spirals, triangles, eyes, branching lines, all coordinated with the pulse of the network. The mechanism responded, pulses stabilizing and spreading across the desert like a living heartbeat. Mira whispered, "It's alive, more alive than I imagined. It's aware of us, judging our intent." Kareem nodded. "The civilization embedded intelligence here. It's adaptive, responsive, but not hostile, yet." Elias grit his teeth. "Then we must remain precise. The creature's core will sense this activation. If it reacts, we need the containment protocols ready immediately." Miles away, the creature stirred.
Its limbs thrashed beneath the desert, sensing the energy from the central mechanism. Pulses of blue light radiated outward, marking the awakening of the final failsafe. Mira gasped. "It knows we're here! The energy! It's communicating with it!" Elias's expression hardened. "Then we don't just activate the mechanism. We stabilize it, or the creature will break free." The desert shook as the creature partially emerged from its subterranean lair, but the pulses from the mechanism restrained it, forcing it to retreat once more. Karim directed the final steps. Spiral, triangle, eye, branching line, repeat in perfect cadence, synchronize with the energy pulses from all nodes. Elias guided their hands across the glyphs. Blue light pulsed in harmony with their actions, converging on the central core. The ground trembled violently, but the mechanism held firm. The desert itself seemed to hum in approval as the network aligned perfectly. Mira exhaled. "We did it. It's holding." The mechanism glowed steadily, veins of energy spreading outward but contained. The pulses from the nodes harmonized, forming a lattice that suppressed the creature's movement. Karim studied the readings. "The energy is immense, but it's stable. The mechanism recognizes us as the operators now. It has accepted our intent." Elias nodded. "Then the containment is permanent, or at least as permanent as the network allows." Mira looked at the desert floor. "It's beautiful, but terrifying. The civilization left this for a reason." Elias examined the glyphs again. The builders weren't just containing the creature. They created a network to monitor it, adapt to its movements, and guide future generations. They trusted someone capable to complete the process if they failed. Karim added, "And now that responsibility is ours. We understand the sequence, the nodes, the pulses, but we also understand the stakes. One misalignment, one failure, and it all collapses." Mira whispered, "They trusted us, or at least they hoped someone would succeed." Elias turned to the team. "We've unlocked the final mechanism, but the creature's influence still exists. We need contingency plans in case it reacts or the network destabilizes." Karim nodded. "We have secondary nodes mapped, energy stabilizers ready, and emergency protocols if pulses spike." Mira added, "We also need to document everything, symbols, sequences, conduits, every detail. Future generations might need to continue this work." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we proceed carefully. This is just the beginning of understanding, not the end." As they stood before the reactivated mechanism, the desert seemed to breathe. Veins of blue energy pulsed gently across the sand, illuminating every node in the network. The creature's presence was still felt beneath the surface, but it was restrained, unable to break free. Mira whispered, "It's quiet now, but it's still there." Elias nodded, "And the network will keep it that way, for now." Karim added, "The civilization's legacy lives through this, through us, through the network. We've unlocked it, but we are also bound by it." The team took a moment to rest, documenting every pulse, every glyph, every node. They had unlocked the final mechanism, completed the ancient civilization's work, and contained the creature once more. Yet the desert whispered of more secrets, more mechanisms, and the ultimate origin of the creature. Their journey was far from over. The network pulsed gently beneath their feet, a silent guardian of the desert, the civilization, and the creature. The next chapter awaited, facing the creature's ultimate source, understanding its true nature, and completing the legacy left by a civilization lost to time. The desert seemed calm at first, the soft hum of the reactivated final mechanism blending with the wind. But beneath the sand, deep in its hidden chambers, the creature stirred. Elias Rowan stood beside the glowing core of the mechanism, watching the desert floor for signs of movement. "It's quiet, for now," he said, though his voice lacked certainty. Kareem's scanner beeped sharply. "No, it's not quiet. Look at these energy fluctuations. They're erratic, concentrated beneath the northern ridge, something shifting." Mira's eyes widened. "It's responding to the mechanism, but not being contained fully. It's growing stronger." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then we need to act fast. The containment network stabilizes it, but it won't stop the creature from testing its limits. Not anymore." The ground trembled, faint at first, then violently, as the desert erupted with deep rumbling groans. Sand shot into the air like geysers. Kareem shouted over the chaos. "It's breaking free! The creature is testing the network! It senses the activation of the final mechanism and is responding." Mira ducked, shielding her face from flying debris. "We need to strengthen the network! Adjust the nodes!" Elias shouted orders, coordinating the pulse alignment across the desert network. Blue veins of energy from the primary and secondary nodes glowed intensely, stretching across miles. The creature's presence became tangible, a massive, undulating shadow beneath the sand, moving with horrifying speed and intelligence. With a deafening roar, the creature partially emerged from the desert floor. Its massive limbs shattered rock and sand alike. Its eyes glowed with an eerie blue light, reflecting the mechanism's pulses. Mira gasped. "It's enormous, bigger than we ever imagined." Kareem pointed to the mechanism. "The nodes are holding, barely. We can't keep it restrained for long without completing the synchronization." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Then we accelerate. Every pulse, every glyph, every node must be aligned perfectly. The creature's awareness grows by the second." The desert trembled violently as the creature fully recognized their presence. It roared again, and the vibration resonated through every mechanism node. The team split, activating secondary nodes around the plateau, while Elias synchronized the central core. Pulses of blue energy radiated outward, forming a lattice of containment. Kareem shouted, "The energy lines are holding, but if it thrashes too violently, the network could collapse." Mira's hands trembled as she traced glyph sequences across a secondary node. "It's resisting! It's trying to disrupt the network!" Elias shouted instructions. "Focus on the sequences. Synchronize your movements with the pulses. Keep the network intact." The desert trembled with the creature's fury, but the nodes responded, their energy lattice glowing brighter with each successful synchronization. The creature lashed out, sending a shockwave through the desert. Sand, stone, and shards of metal flew into the air. Blue pulses from the mechanism flared violently as it struggled against the creature's force. Mira dodged debris. "It's learning. Every movement we make, it adapts." Kareem adjusted the pulse frequencies, sweat dripping down his face. "If we misalign even one node, the network could fail." Elias held steady, tracing the glyphs. "Then we cannot falter. We are the civilization's successors now. One mistake, and everything dies." The creature's massive claw struck the central plateau, sending vibrations through the desert. Yet the mechanism absorbed the impact, stabilizing the network momentarily. Kareem studied the creature's patterns. "It's following the energy lines. It's trying to break free by targeting the nodes directly." Mira nodded. "Then we anticipate its movements. We can reinforce the nodes along its path, channeling energy to contain it." Elias pointed to the northern ridge. "There, the energy spikes show where it's weakest. That's where we focus the pulses." The team adjusted nodes along the predicted path. Veins of blue light surged through the desert, intercepting the creature's attempts to disrupt the network. The creature roared again, sand and rocks raining down as it struck at multiple nodes simultaneously. Its massive head emerged, jaw open, revealing rows of jagged teeth. Mira cried out, "It's too powerful! We can't hold it much longer!" Kareem adjusted the final pulses. Keep it contained at least long enough to synchronize the core. We can't let it reach the outer nodes. Elias shouted, "Focus! The glyphs, the sequence, the network, everything depends on precision." The desert trembled violently, but the network responded, blue pulses surging through every conduit, holding the creature partially restrained. Amid the chaos, Elias noticed a pattern in the creature's movements. It attacked the nodes that were weakest in synchronization. Mira whispered, "It's intelligent, not just a beast. It understands the network." Elias nodded. "Then we fight smart. We reinforce the vulnerable nodes in sequence, using the creature's patterns against itself. We adapt like the builders intended." Karim rapidly adjusted the secondary nodes, pulses surging across the desert. Blue light flashed across the sand, illuminating the creature's form as it struggled against the containment lattice. After hours of chaos, the team finally aligned the nodes with the central mechanism. Pulses converged perfectly, creating a lattice of energy that restrained the creature completely. It roared violently, thrashing beneath the sand, but the network held. Veins of blue light radiated across the desert, forming a protective cage that extended miles from the central core. Mira exhaled. "It's contained, for now, but it's still alive." Karim studied the readings. "It's exhausted, but this is temporary. The network will hold only if we maintain the pulses." Elias nodded grimly. "Then we maintain it. We document it, and we prepare for what comes next." With the desert calm again, the team carefully observed the creature beneath the containment lattice. Its full form was massive, almost serpentine, with jagged scaled limbs and bioluminescent patterns across its body that pulsed in rhythm with the mechanism. Mira whispered, "It's ancient, older than any civilization we know. The glyphs, they weren't just warnings, they were desperate attempts to control something beyond comprehension." Elias nodded. "And now the responsibility falls to us. We have the knowledge, the mechanisms, and the network, but the creature, its power is beyond anything human." Karim added quietly, "We hold it, but we do not fully understand it. Not yet." The team spent the next hours reinforcing the nodes, documenting every pulse, every glyph, and every conduit. Each node was synchronized with the central core, creating a stable lattice of containment across the desert. Mira adjusted a secondary node, her hand steady now. "It's all connected. Every pulse, every line, every glyph. It's like a living organism." Elias nodded. "And we are its stewards now. We understand the civilization's legacy, and we must ensure it survives." Karim observed the readings. "The creature is contained, but it's aware. Every slight vibration, every pulse, it senses. We've stabilized it, but vigilance is necessary." Elias surveyed the desert. The blue pulses stretched across miles, the network holding the creature securely. Mira whispered, "It's terrifying, but also beautiful. The civilization's design, it's incredible." Elias nodded. "They created a system to contain something beyond comprehension, and now we're part of that system. We've unlocked the network, contained the creature, and traced its power, but we've only scratched the surface." Karim added quietly, "The energy lines, the nodes, the glyphs, they're more than containment. They're energy, history, a warning for the future." With the creature contained, the team set up permanent monitoring equipment. Pulses were maintained across all nodes, and the glyph sequences were documented in meticulous detail. Elias addressed the team. "The creature is restrained, but its core remains active. The next steps will involve understanding its origin, purpose, and the civilization that created these mechanisms. Our journey isn't over." Mira nodded. "We faced it in full force. We survived, and now we learn." And Karim added, "And we prepare, because the creature will not stay dormant forever. Its essence is eternal, like the desert itself." The desert returned to a fragile calm, the energy lattice glowing faintly, holding the creature in suspended containment. The team had survived its full awakening, activated and stabilized the ancient mechanisms, and traced the energy lines to their maximum extent. But the creature's essence remained, a silent reminder of the power and terror that lay beneath the desert sands. The journey was far from over, and the next chapters promised even greater challenges, revelations, and dangers as they approached the creature's ultimate origin.
After containing the creature and stabilizing the network of nodes, Elias Rowan and his team studied the glyphs on the final mechanism. Hidden among the spirals and branching lines, they noticed a pattern previously overlooked, a sequence pointing deep beneath the desert toward a plateau shrouded in mist-like sand. Kareem frowned at the readings. These pulses, they don't connect to the surface nodes. They lead underground, deeper than anything we've explored. This could be another mechanism, or something else entirely. Mira's voice was quiet, tinged with awe. The ancients, they built layers of security. If this leads somewhere hidden, it must be important. Elias's jaw tightened. Then we follow it. The hidden chamber could hold answers about the creature, the civilization, and the mechanisms themselves, and maybe the ultimate source. The team prepared for a descent into the misty plateau. Sandstorms swirled faintly, as if the desert itself was aware of their movements. Kareem adjusted his scanner. The readings are stronger down here. Whatever lies beneath, it's massive, and it's dormant for now. Mira pulled a cloth over her face. The glyphs suggested tunnels, traps, and barriers. We need to be careful. One misstep could trigger an ancient defense system. Elias led the team forward. We faced the creature, stabilized its network of nodes. Now we uncover what the ancients were hiding. Every step counts. After hours of searching the plateau, they discovered a narrow fissure partially covered by shifting sand. Beneath it, faint glyphs glowed, pulsing in the same rhythm as the central mechanism. Kareem whispered, "This is it, the entrance to the hidden chamber." Mira traced her fingers over the symbols. The ancients, they didn't just want anyone entering. Only those who could read and interpret the glyphs would gain access. Elias nodded. Then this is more than architecture. It's a test. Let's proceed carefully. The team carefully entered the fissure, using portable lights and sensors to navigate. The air grew cooler, and the faint hum of energy from the desert above faded, replaced by an almost imperceptible vibration beneath their feet. Kareem murmured, "The energy lines are still present, but muted." The ancients built an underground conduit system, protecting this chamber from surface interference. Mira shivered. It's like stepping back in time, or into a place untouched for thousands of years. Elias led the way, scanning for traps and reinforcing the pathway. Keep close. Every glyph, every pulse, it matters. One misstep could trigger an ancient defense system. After descending deeper, subtle defenses became apparent. Pressure-sensitive stones, hidden spikes, and collapsing pathways threatened to stop their progress. Kareem adjusted the scanning device. These traps were designed to protect the chamber from intruders. The ancients were serious about security. Mira carefully stepped around a concealed pitfall, and whoever enters must understand the glyphs or die. Elias's voice was calm but firm. We follow the sequence. Observe, interpret, and proceed. Precision and patience will keep us alive. After navigating the traps, the team entered a vast subterranean hall. Walls and ceilings were covered with spirals, triangles, branching lines, and eye glyphs, an elaborate network of symbols. The floor was inscribed with energy channels, faintly glowing as though alive. Kareem scanned the chamber. This is a map of the mechanisms, nodes, and conduits. Every glyph corresponds to a real-world energy line. The ancients left instructions in plain sight, but encoded. Mira whispered, and they left warnings too. Symbols indicating danger, power, and containment. This is more than a chamber. It's a manual, a safeguard, and a history all at once. Elias nodded. Then we study carefully. Every detail matters. This chamber may hold the key to understanding the creature's ultimate origin. At the center of the hall, they discovered a massive circular platform. Glyphs radiated outward from a central core. Faint pulses of energy suggested the presence of a dormant guardian mechanism, larger and more complex than any node they had previously encountered. Kareem's scanner beeped rapidly. This is the primary control system. It monitors the energy network, the creature, and potentially other mechanisms. Activating it incorrectly could be catastrophic. Mira gasped. It's like a brain. The ancients didn't just build mechanisms, they built intelligence to govern the network. Elias stepped closer, studying the glyphs. Then we approach with caution. We don't just activate it, we synchronize with it, understand it, and earn its trust. The team spent hours tracing glyph sequences along the plateau. Spirals, triangles, branching lines, and eye glyphs formed a network far more intricate than any mechanism above ground. Kareem pointed to a series of spirals converging on a single glyph. This could be the activation key. It's not just a symbol, it's a command sequence. The ancients embedded logic in their writing. Mira nodded, and if we misinterpret it, we could trigger a defensive response or worse, wake the creature below. Elias studied the patterns carefully. Then we proceed slowly, interpret each glyph, align the pulses, and maintain the energy network. Precision is the key. With careful synchronization, the team began sending controlled pulses through the glyph network. The central platform responded, faint blue light spreading outward, illuminating energy conduits leading deeper underground. The air vibrated with the resonance of the guardian mechanism. Small fragments of sand and dust floated in the glowing light. Kareem whispered, "It's alive, but it recognizes us. The sequence is accepted." Mira's eyes widened. "We're in its good graces, but only just. One wrong move and it could turn hostile." Elias nodded. "Then we maintain focus. This is a delicate dance between intelligence, energy, and intention." As the pulses stabilized, the team observed the guardian mechanism's glyphs displaying subtle movements, spirals rotating, branching lines extending, triangles pulsing rhythmically. Kareem studied the scanner. The ancients encoded history in this system. It's more than containment, it's knowledge. We're witnessing their civilization's intelligence distilled into energy and symbols. Mira whispered, "And warnings too. They were trying to teach us, to guide us, and to protect themselves and us." Elias nodded. "Then we honor it. Every step, every pulse, every glyph is a lesson. The hidden chamber is a map of the past and a guide to the future." With the guardian mechanism active, the team traced conduits leading further underground. Energy readings suggested a convergence point, the potential location of the creature's ultimate origin. Kareem pointed at the map. "This is it. Every energy line, every node, every glyph leads to this point. If we continue, we may finally confront the source." Mira swallowed nervously. "And whatever lies there will be unlike anything we've seen." Elias's voice was steady. "Then we prepare. The hidden chamber was only the first step. The source of the creature and the full truth of the ancients awaits us below." The hidden chamber of the ancients stood as a testament to intelligence, foresight, and the civilization's desperate efforts to control the creature. The guardian mechanism had awakened, pulses of energy tracing conduits toward the creature's ultimate origin. The team had survived the descent, deciphered glyphs, synchronized the guardian, and traced the network deeper underground. Yet the journey was far from over. The creature's source, the secrets of the ancients, and the final confrontation awaited them in the depths below. The hidden chamber had revealed the path. The next steps would uncover the truth and the ultimate challenge.
Elias, Rowan, Mira, and Karim followed the conduits traced from the hidden chamber of the ancients. The pulses of energy grew stronger as they descended deeper, illuminating faint glyphs on walls that had been untouched for millennia. Karim whispered, "The readings. These energy lines aren't just conduits. They're timelines, encoded with history, technology, and perhaps even warnings from the ancients themselves." Mira traced her hand along a spiral glyph. It's like time is embedded in the walls, preserved. Every symbol, every pattern is a fragment of memory. Elias nodded, his eyes scanning the darkness ahead. Then we're walking through their past, and perhaps into their future. Every step is a lesson buried beneath time. After navigating a narrow passage, the team entered a massive chamber. The walls glowed faintly, covered with glyphs, spirals, and branching lines radiating from massive triangular motifs. Ancient murals depicted creatures, mechanisms, and people, an entire civilization interacting with forces they barely understood. Karim examined the walls with his scanner. These aren't just symbols, they're records. The ancients encoded their history in energy and glyphs, preserving it for anyone capable of reading it. Mira whispered, "They foresaw someone like us, someone who could interpret the glyphs and continue their work." Elias stepped forward, tracing his hand over a mural. The secrets buried beneath time, their warnings, instructions, and knowledge all at once. If we interpret them correctly, we can understand the creature and the mechanisms fully. The murals depicted humans constructing mechanisms, channels of energy running through deserts, and giant creatures restrained by glowing lattices. Each panel told a story of discovery, struggle, and ultimate sacrifice. Karim pointed to a depiction of a creature similar to the one they faced. They built the network specifically to contain this being. The glyphs weren't just symbols, they were a language, a record of the creature's abilities, weaknesses, and intelligence. Mira studied another mural. And look here, these humans seemed to communicate with the creature through the network, maintaining control and ensuring it didn't escape. They were scholars, engineers, and guardians all at once. Elias nodded gravely. Then we're not just studying history, we're stepping into their role, continuing their legacy, and facing the consequences of their knowledge. The walls contained depictions of mechanisms unlike anything the team had seen above ground. Intricate devices with spirals, branching conduits, and pulsating nodes were connected to glowing channels representing the flow of energy and, implicitly, the flow of time itself. Karim whispered, "They were attempting to manipulate not just containment, but timing, energy, sequences, and synchronization. They understood that controlling the creature required understanding its temporal influence." Mira traced the glyph resembling an eye within a spiral. The ancients weren't just engineers, they were timekeepers. They encoded their knowledge in a way that could survive millennia. Elias adjusted his scanner, and if we interpret it correctly, we can predict the creature's behavior, its strengths, and its weaknesses. These secrets buried beneath time are our key to survival. In the center of the chamber, the team found a raised platform. Upon it lay a slab of smooth black stone, covered with delicate glyphs, unlike anything they had seen before. The pulses of energy from the network converged on this slab, indicating its central importance. Karim carefully examined it. This is a codex, a record of the ancients' knowledge, their discoveries, and the complete network schematic. Mira whispered, "It's alive with energy, as if it's aware we're reading it." Elias nodded. "Then we study it carefully. Every glyph, every pulse, every pattern. This codex holds the secrets that could allow us to control, understand, or even neutralize the creature permanently. As the team traced the glyphs on the codex, warnings became evident. Spirals indicated danger, triangles indicated required sequences, and branching lines depicted the consequences of misalignment. Karim muttered, "They weren't just preserving knowledge, they were warning anyone who followed. One mistake, and the creature or the network could react violently." Mira frowned. The ancients understood that knowledge is dangerous. They left instructions, but they also left peril. Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we must proceed with precision. The secrets buried beneath time are a gift and a responsibility. Misusing them could undo everything we've achieved." Elias began tracing the energy lines from the codex, synchronizing them with the pulses of the central mechanism above. The blue veins of energy spread throughout the chamber, illuminating glyphs, murals, and conduits. Karim adjusted his scanner. The energy is resonating perfectly. The codex isn't just a record, it's a key. It can interact with the network, the creature, and possibly even the mechanisms we've already activated. Mira whispered, "It's like time itself is guiding us. The ancients encoded understanding into energy patterns that survive thousands of years." Elias nodded. "Then we follow it. The secrets buried beneath time will guide us to the ultimate origin of the creature." As they traced the glyphs, hidden panels opened along the chamber walls. Inside were miniature mechanisms, nodes, and conduits, all intricately linked to the central codex. Karim marveled. They left their entire system intact underground. These nodes, they must be secondary containment measures, additional fail-safes, or knowledge storage units. Mira traced a glyph leading to a spiral-shaped mechanism. Every node is mapped in the codex. The ancients planned for every possibility, every failure. Elias smiled faintly. "Then we are standing in the heart of their civilization's genius. These secrets buried beneath time, they were meant to guide those who could follow their logic and their pulse." Even underground, the creature's presence could be felt. Pulses of energy from the codex interacted with residual energy from the creature's network, creating a faint hum of awareness. Karim whispered, "It knows we're here, but it's restrained for now. The codex and the mechanisms amplify the containment network." Mira nodded. "We have to move carefully. The ancients left this codex as both a guide and a stabilizer. Misalignment could awaken the creature prematurely." Elias gestured to the glyphs. "Then we follow the sequences exactly. The creature is powerful, ancient, and intelligent. These secrets buried beneath time are our only advantage." The codex displayed a final set of glyphs, a complex sequence connecting all nodes, the central mechanism, and the guardian. Spirals, branching lines, and triangles intertwined to depict an alignment of energy, knowledge, and containment. Karim studied it. "This is the ultimate sequence, the key to controlling or fully understanding the creature. It's intricate, but if we synchronize it, we can stabilize the network permanently." Mira whispered, "It's a language of containment, history, and power. The ancients left it for someone capable of completing their work." Elias nodded. "Then we are that someone. Every step, every pulse, every glyph must be followed exactly. The secrets buried beneath time demand respect and precision." The team set up instruments, energy stabilizers, and scanning equipment, aligning every conduit with the codex. Pulses of energy radiated through the chamber, reaching the surface mechanisms and the guardian below. Karim adjusted the final energy input. The network is almost fully synchronized. The codex is guiding us, and the creature remains restrained, for now. Mira added, "If this works, we'll understand the creature's origin, its abilities, and the full genius of the ancients. But one misstep." Elias's eyes hardened.
One misstep could unravel everything. Then we proceed with utmost care. The secrets buried beneath time will lead us, but they demand vigilance. As they initiated the final synchronization, the chamber pulsed with energy. Glyphs glowed, murals seemed to shimmer, and the conduits beneath the desert hummed in resonance. The Codex's energy flowed through the team's instruments, illuminating the history, knowledge, and legacy of the ancients. Karim whispered, "It's like time itself is alive, guiding us, testing us, and teaching us simultaneously." Mira added, "And the creature, it's aware, but it's restrained. For now, we hold the balance." Elias nodded. "Then we learn, we adapt, and we prepare for the ultimate revelation. The secrets buried beneath time are ours to understand, but they are also a warning. Knowledge without respect is fatal." The hidden chamber had revealed its greatest secret, a codex containing the history, knowledge, and ultimate sequences of the
Ancients. The team traced every energy line, synchronized every node, and prepared to confront the creature at its ultimate origin. The secrets buried beneath time illuminated the past, guided the present, and offered a glimpse into the legacy the ancients had left behind. Yet the journey was far from over. The ultimate truth of the creature, its origin, and the full power of the mechanisms awaited discovery in the depths below. The team had uncovered the past. Now they would face the present and the ultimate future.
Elias Rowan and his team stood in the hidden chamber, their hands tracing the pulsating glyphs on the ancient codex. Among the spirals, triangles, and branching lines, a new sequence emerged, a depiction of a ritual designed to bind the creature permanently. Karim's eyes widened. This isn't just instructions for containment, it's a full ritual. Energy alignment, glyph synchronization, and sacrifice? Mira's voice trembled. It's a ceremony of control. The ancients didn't just trap the creature, they bound it using their knowledge, energy, and perhaps even themselves. Elias studied the glyphs intently. Then we follow the ritual. The sequence is precise. Energy lines, nodes, and glyphs must be activated in exact order. Any deviation could unleash the creature fully. The ritual required a specific configuration. The central mechanism, secondary nodes, and the hidden chamber codex all had to interact simultaneously. Karim set up stabilizers across the desert, connecting every node to the codex. If the energy pulses fluctuate during the ritual, it could destabilize the network, and the creature could react violently. Mira positioned glyphs along the chamber walls to mirror the celestial alignment depicted in the codex. The ancients synced their ritual with the stars, the desert, and the energy network. Timing is everything. Elias nodded. Then we coordinate carefully. Every pulse, every glyph, every movement matters. The ritual is the final safeguard, the last link in the chain. The codex's glyphs depicted energy flows converging on a central point, an intersection representing the creature's core. The team began tracing energy lines across the desert, adjusting conduits and nodes to align with the sequence. Karim shouted over the hum of energy. The lines are converging, but the pulses must remain stable. Even the slightest misalignment could trigger a catastrophic reaction. Mira adjusted a glyph sequence along the hidden chamber wall. The ancients embedded fail-safes in the ritual. It's intelligent, almost like it can sense intent. We have to follow every step precisely. Elias's voice was calm but firm. Then we proceed deliberately. The ritual is the key to binding the beast, and there is no room for error. With the energy lines aligned, the team initiated the first step of the ritual. Blue pulses surged through the desert network, illuminating veins of energy connecting nodes and conduits. The hidden chamber codex glowed in response. Karim monitored the energy flows. It's responding. The network recognizes the ritual. The pulses are stabilizing, but the creature senses it too. It's reacting beneath the sand. Mira whispered, "We're awakening something within it, but also guiding it, restraining it. The ritual is both shield and tether." Elias's hands hovered over the central glyph sequence. Then we continue. Every movement, every pulse, every thought must align with the codex. This is the only way to bind it permanently. As the ritual progressed, the desert trembled. The creature thrashed beneath the sand, sensing the converging energy flows and the alignment of nodes. Pulses from the codex countered its movements, but it retaliated with massive subterranean shocks. Karim shouted, "It's resisting! The ritual is stabilizing it, but it's fighting back with every ounce of its strength." Mira traced glyphs quickly, matching the pulses. "We have to maintain focus. Each glyph, each sequence is a tether holding it in place." Elias adjusted the central mechanism's energy output. "Then we hold it. The ancients designed the ritual to bind it completely, but only if executed perfectly. We must be precise." The codex suggested that the ritual required more than glyphs and energy. It demanded the intent and focus of those performing it. The team concentrated, aligning their thoughts with the pulses of the network. Mira whispered, "The ritual isn't just mechanical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. We have to think like the ancients, act like them, and synchronize with the creature's energy." Karim nodded. "We're not just observers, we are participants. Every decision, every movement affects the network, the ritual, and the creature itself." Elias's voice was steady but firm. "Then we focus. We align our intent with the codex, with the glyphs, with the energy. The ritual will only succeed if our minds, bodies, and the network are in harmony." As the ritual progressed, the pulses from the nodes in the codex intensified. The desert floor glowed with blue veins of energy, and the air hummed with a resonance that vibrated through bones. Karim adjusted the energy stabilizers. "The pulse is reaching maximum amplitude. We can't let it fluctuate or the creature will break free." Mira whispered, "It's aware, but it's being restrained by the ritual. Every surge of energy tethers it further." Elias nodded. "Then we maintain the rhythm. Every glyph, every pulse, every line must flow as one. The ritual is our anchor." Despite the binding energy, the creature partially emerged from the desert floor, massive limbs breaking through the sand. Its glowing eyes reflected the blue pulses of the ritual. Mira gasped, "It's immense, and it knows we're here. It's resisting, but we're holding it." Karim shouted, "We can't hold it much longer without completing the final sequence. Focus on the codex." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Then we synchronize fully. The ritual demands completion, and we cannot falter. The creature must be bound before it fully awakens." The final sequence required simultaneous activation of the codex, central mechanism, and all nodes. The team moved in perfect harmony, tracing glyphs, adjusting conduits, and feeding pulses into the network. The desert trembled violently as the creature roared, attempting to break free. Blue energy veins surged, creating a lattice that locked its movements. Mira whispered, "We're almost there. Just a few more pulses." Karim's hands flew over the instruments. "Synchronization is complete. Now we feed the final energy into the core." Elias shouted, "Do it now!" The final pulse surged through the desert, converging on the creature's core. Its thrashing slowed as the energy lattice tightened, restraining it completely. The blue glow spread across nodes, conduits, and the hidden chamber, forming a permanent network of containment. Karim exhaled in relief. "It's bound, completely. The ritual worked." Mira nodded, tears in her eyes. "The ancients, they left this for a reason. We've completed their work, but we must maintain it." Elias stepped back, surveying the desert. "The creature is bound, The ritual is complete, and the network is stabilized, but vigilance is essential. The beast's essence remains, eternal and aware. With the creature bound, the team studied the ritual's glyphs and energy patterns. The codex revealed that the ancients had encoded their knowledge, intent, and protective sequences into the ritual, ensuring that only capable successors could maintain containment. Kareem whispered, "They didn't just trap the creature, they created a living system, adaptive and intelligent. The ritual isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous bond." Mira nodded. "And now we are the stewards of that bond. We understand the creature, the network, and the ancients' legacy." Elias concluded, "Then we document everything, maintain the network, and respect the ritual. The beast is bound, but its power demands constant vigilance." The desert, once chaotic and alive with the creature's thrashing, now settled into a fragile calm. Blue energy veins pulsed gently across the sand, connecting nodes, conduits, and the hidden chamber. Kareem said quietly, "The ritual worked. The network is stable, and the creature is contained." Mira added, "But it's still there, beneath the desert, aware of every pulse, every movement, every human who maintains the network." Elias nodded. "Then we remain vigilant. The ancients left us this legacy, not for power, but for protection. We are the guardians now." The ancient ritual that binds the beast had been completed. The creature was bound, the network stabilized, and the Hidden Chambers Codex preserved its knowledge and sequences for future generations. The team had aligned intent, glyphs, and energy, executing the final safeguard that the ancients had entrusted to history. Yet the journey was far from over. Understanding the creature's ultimate origin, ensuring the permanence of the bond, and preserving the knowledge of the ancients remain challenges yet to come. The ritual had succeeded, but the desert, the network, and the creature's eternal presence would test their vigilance for generations.
The desert lay calm, the blue energy veins of the completed ritual pulsating faintly across the sands. Elias Rowan, Mira, and Kareem surveyed the stabilized network, their eyes reflecting relief, but also anticipation. Mira whispered, "The ritual worked, but I can't stop thinking about it. Who or what created this creature?" Kareem nodded, scanning residual energy lines. "The codex hints at a source, something older than the ancients themselves. The ritual binds it, but it doesn't tell us where it came from." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Then we follow the trail. The creature has a history, and the ancients recorded it beneath time. If we understand its origin, we can finally grasp the full scope of what we're dealing with." Using the codex and the network of nodes, the team traced faint energy signatures deep beneath the desert. Pulses converged on a singular subterranean point, distant from the hidden chamber, glowing with residual power from the creature itself. Kareem adjusted his scanner. "This energy, it predates the ancients. The patterns are different, primal. This must be the origin point." Mira's eyes widened. "Older than recorded history. Perhaps the creature existed before civilizations, before even recorded time." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we proceed carefully. We're about to witness the beginning, the origin of a being that has survived millennia, and perhaps the reason the ancients devoted their civilization to containment." The team followed a hidden conduit, its walls etched with glyphs from forgotten ages. As they descended, the air grew denser, humming with an energy older and more potent than anything they had encountered. Kareem muttered, "The readings, they're off the charts,
The network barely contains this residual energy. This place is the true core of the creature's existence. Mira shivered. It's like walking into history itself, a memory older than humans. I can feel it, beneath the sand, beneath time. Elias led the way, scanning continuously. We're not just uncovering the origin, we're entering a timeline preserved in energy, in the desert, in the codex. The ancients left this path for a reason. We must honor it. At the base of the conduit, they entered a cavern larger than any above ground. The walls glowed faintly with bioluminescent patterns, resembling scales and veins. Pulses radiated from the center, the primal heart of the creature. Karim gasped. This isn't just a creature. It's a living embodiment of energy, evolution, and survival. Its form predates the ancients, predates history. Mira traced a faint glyph carved into a rock. The ancients revered it, feared it, and documented it. They didn't create it. They discovered it, studied it, and sought to contain it. Elias stepped closer, scanning the central pulse. Then the creature's origin is not just biological, it's cosmic, primordial, something that existed long before civilization, perhaps even before the Earth as we know it. Along the cavern walls, murals depicted strange beings encountering the creature, humans, figures in ceremonial robes, and ancient civilizations struggling to survive. The creature loomed over them, restrained partially by energy devices similar to their network. Karim whispered, "The ancients documented centuries, maybe millennia of interactions with it. They observed, studied, and eventually devised the containment networks." Mira's voice trembled. They lived in fear, yet they also revered it. They understood its intelligence and power. This isn't just a predator. It's sentient, ancient, and aware of history itself. Elias nodded. Then our understanding shifts. This creature isn't a threat to fear mindlessly. It's a force to comprehend, respect, and contain responsibly. At the cavern's center, the team discovered a massive crystalline formation, pulsing with blue and white energy. Embedded within were faintly visible conduits and glyphs, older than anything above ground. Karim scanned the formation. This is the core. It's energy. It's alive. It resonates with the nodes and the codex, but it also existed before any civilization recorded it. This is the origin point of the creature. Mira's eyes widened. It's beautiful, terrifying, eternal. The ancients must have built their civilization around containing, not defeating it. Elias's voice was steady. Then we learn from it. The ancients preserved knowledge, built the ritual, and stabilized the network. Now we witness its source. Its origin is not just history. It's the foundation of our entire understanding of this being. The crystal pulses synchronized with residual energy lines from the creature. They could feel it, an intelligence beyond comprehension, vast and aware, echoing through the desert and beneath time. Karim whispered, "It's aware of us, not just alive, but conscious, and it senses the network, the ritual, and the codex." Mira's eyes widened. "We've bound it, but this is its origin. It remembers everything." Elias nodded gravely. "Then we must be cautious. Knowledge is power, but power without respect invites catastrophe. The ancients understood this, and we must follow their example." The cavern walls contained ancient glyphs unlike anything in the hidden chamber. Spirals, branching lines, and triangular patterns depicted the creature's evolution, its interactions with civilizations, and its containment. Karim studied them. It's a record of survival, adaptation, and intelligence. The creature has influenced civilizations, guided events, and challenged humans for millennia. Mira whispered, "The ancients weren't the first to encounter it. They learned from others, perhaps even earlier societies we've never known." Elias nodded gravely. "Then our role is to continue their work, understand the creature, respect its origin, and maintain containment. The secrets buried beneath time now reveal why it exists, how it evolved, and why the ritual was necessary." To fully comprehend the origin, the team synchronized the codex with the crystalline core. Energy pulses from the nodes, the hidden chamber, and the desert network converged on the crystal, illuminating glyphs, murals, and conduits simultaneously. Kareem adjusted the pulses. "It's responding. The core is active. We're seeing the creature's history encoded in energy, glyphs, and resonance." Mira whispered, "It's alive in every sense. Memory, energy, consciousness, all intertwined." Elias nodded gravely. "Then we observe, record, and respect. The ancients left this for a reason. The creature's true origin isn't a secret. They preserved it to ensure it would be understood correctly." As the pulses aligned, visions of past civilizations flashed within the energy lattice. Humans building mechanisms, creatures restrained by ritual, and entire societies devoted to study and preservation. Kareem whispered, "It's a living history, encoded in energy and glyphs. The creature's origin is tied to the evolution of civilizations themselves." Mira added, "Every attempt to contain it, every ritual, every mechanism is a lesson for us. The ancients wanted us to witness the truth, understand it, and continue their work responsibly." Elias's voice was steady. "Then we document, synchronize, and prepare. Knowledge without action is useless. Now we understand the creature's origin and our role in maintaining balance." With the energy pulses stabilizing, the team could perceive the creature's true form, a massive, bioluminescent entity, serpentine and scaled, with intelligence reflected in every movement. Its core energy pulsed rhythmically, synchronized with the desert network and the codex. Kareem whispered, "It's magnificent, terrifying, ancient. The ancients were not its creators, they were its guardians." And Mira added, "And now we are too. Its origin is revealed, but containment, understanding, and vigilance remain our responsibility." Elias nodded. "Then we honor the ancients, respect the creature, maintain the network, and safeguard the secrets of its origin for future generations." The creature's true origin had been revealed, a primordial force,
older than recorded history, intertwined with civilizations, energy, and the passage of time. The team had traced its lineage, observed its core, and synchronized the codex with its ancient pulses. They now understood that the creature was not merely a threat. It was a living archive, a force of nature, and a responsibility. The ancients' legacy had been fulfilled, and the modern guardians had taken their place. Yet the journey was far from over. Understanding the origin illuminated the past, but the creature's future, the network's stability, and the preservation of knowledge demanded eternal vigilance. The desert held its secret, but now humanity and the team knew the truth.
Elias, Rowan, and Kareem stood at the entrance to the deepest part of the subterranean network, their eyes scanning the faint blue glow of the energy veins from the codex and nodes above. Kareem muttered, "The readings are extreme. We've traced the creature to its origin, but now it feels alive in a way we've never experienced." Mira adjusted her flashlight, her voice trembling. We've bound it once, but what happens when we enter the depths? Are we prepared to face it, fully awake? Elias's jaw tightened. We have no choice. The ritual binds it temporarily. To secure permanent containment, we must confront it directly, understand its core, and ensure the network's stability. Everything leads here. The passage narrowed, the walls close and carved with ancient glyphs pulsating faintly. Dust swirled with each step, and a low hum resonated through the rock, echoing from the creature's core below. Kareem scanned for energy fluctuations. The network is reacting to our presence. The creature knows we're coming. These conduits were meant to delay anyone who approached. Mira shivered. It's as if the ancients built this as a test, not just containment, but to see if someone could survive and confront it. Elias's jaw tightened. We have no choice. The ritual binds it temporarily. To secure permanent containment, we must confront it directly, understand its core, and ensure the network's stability. Everything leads here. The passage narrowed, the walls close and carved with ancient glyphs pulsating faintly. Dust swirled with each step, and a low hum resonated through the rock, echoing from the creature's core below. Kareem scanned for energy fluctuations. The network is reacting to our presence. The creature knows we're coming. These conduits were meant to delay anyone who approached. Mira shivered. It's as if the ancients built this as a test, not just containment, but to see if someone could survive and confront it. Elias nodded. Then we remain precise. Every step, every pulse, every glyph matters. The final confrontation is a combination of intellect, courage, and timing. After hours of careful navigation, the team arrived at a vast cavern, the air thick with energy. In the center lay the crystalline core, pulsating with bioluminescent light. The creature's full form loomed around it, serpentine, scaled and massive, its eyes glowing with ancient intelligence. Kareem whispered, "It's fully aware and immense. The ritual kept it restrained above, but here, in its own domain, it's nearly unstoppable." Mira's eyes widened. It's as if the ancients built this as a test, not just containment, but to see if someone could survive and confront it. Elias nodded. Then we remain precise. Every step, every pulse, every glyph matters. The final confrontation is a combination of intellect, courage, and timing. After hours of careful navigation, the team arrived at a vast cavern, the air thick with energy. In the center lay the crystalline core, pulsating with bioluminescent light. The creature's full form loomed around it, serpentine, scaled and massive, its eyes glowing with ancient intelligence. Kareem whispered, "It's fully aware and immense. The ritual kept it restrained above, but here, in its own domain, it's nearly unstoppable." Mira's eyes widened. It's as if the ancients built this as a test, not just containment, but to see if someone could survive and confront it. Elias nodded. Then we remain precise. Every step, every pulse, every glyph matters. The final confrontation is a combination of intellect, courage, and timing. The creature shifted, coiling around the crystalline core, sending pulses of energy that reverberated through the chamber. The walls hummed with light, and the glyphs along the cavern began to glow in response. Kareem shouted, "It's testing us. Every pulse we send, it counters. We need the codex to maintain the ritual and keep it restrained." Mira adjusted the glyph sequences along the walls. "We're stabilizing the network, but it's fighting us mentally and physically. The ancients warned that the creature responds to intent as well as energy."
Elias stepped forward, focusing on synchronizing the codex with the core. Then we match its intent, anticipate its moves, and complete the sequence. Precision is our weapon. Blue and white energy veins from the codex converged with the creature's raw energy. The cavern shook as pulses collided, creating a resonance that felt almost alive. Kareem yelled over the chaos, "The energy is unstable. We need to reinforce the network." Mira traced the final glyph sequence. "It's responding to every adjustment. The codex predicts its movements, but we must stay ahead." Elias's hands glowed faintly from the energy alignment. "Then we proceed with synchronization. Every pulse must counter its will, guide it, and bind it further. The confrontation is as much mental as physical." With a sudden surge, the creature lunged toward the team, its serpentine body crashing through the cavern floor. The energy network rippled, threatening to destabilize. Kareem shouted, "We need to anchor the nodes. It's too powerful." Mira dodged a massive claw and reinforced the glyph alignment. "We can't let it touch the core. If it breaks the energy lattice, containment fails." Elias stepped between the creature and the core, focusing the codex's pulses directly into the center. "Hold the sequence. The ritual must finish, no matter what." The final step of the confrontation required perfect synchronization. The codex, the network, and the team's intent had to converge simultaneously. Mira whispered, "We are the ritual now. Our minds, actions, and energy must merge with the network. One mistake and it's over." Elias nodded, hands flying over the stabilizers. Every conduit, every glyph, every pulse aligned. Elias's eyes burned with focus. "Then we become the ancient successors. The final confrontation ends not with force, but with alignment, respect, and intelligence." The creature roared, energy surging from its core, shaking the cavern violently. Blue veins from the network clashed with the creature's pulses, creating a resonance that felt almost alive. Kareem yelled over the chaos, "It's breaking through! Keep reinforcing the glyphs!" Mira's hands trembled but moved precisely. "The codex shows the sequence, the pulses, the energy flow. We have to maintain it." Elias's voice rang out over the chaos. "Focus. Align every intent, every pulse, every movement with the codex. This is the final step. The confrontation ends now." With a sudden surge, the energy network locked into perfect alignment. The creature froze, coils tightening around its crystalline core, fully restrained. Blue and white pulses radiated across the cavern, stabilizing all nodes, conduits, and glyphs. Kareem exhaled. "It's done. The network holds. The ritual worked again." Mira wiped sweat from her brow. "We faced it fully awake, and it's contained. The ancients' warnings, the codex, everything was necessary." Elias stepped back, surveying the creature, now calm and restrained. "The final confrontation is complete. The beast is bound, the network stabilized, and the knowledge preserved. But vigilance remains essential. Its awareness is eternal." The cavern pulsed gently as the network settled. The team studied the glyphs, the codex, and the crystalline core, realizing the magnitude of the creature's intelligence, energy, and history. Kareem whispered, "The subterranean depths weren't just its lair. They were a library of its existence, evolution, and intelligence. The final confrontation wasn't just physical, it was a mental and historical trial." Mira added, "We've seen its origin, participated in the ritual, and witnessed its full power. Understanding it is as important as binding it." Elias nodded. "Then we document, synchronize, and respect.
The ancients built this system not to destroy, but to coexist with, contain, and learn from the creature. With the final confrontation complete, the team began their ascent. The subterranean network hummed gently, the creature's energy now calm but aware, tethered securely by the codex, nodes, and rituals. Karim adjusted the stabilizers. The network is stable. We can descend again if needed, but for now, containment is complete. Mira smiled faintly. We've faced its full force, and we're survived. We're the guardians now, just like the ancients. Elias nodded, eyes fixed on the cavern's exit. Then we remain vigilant. The creature's power is eternal, its intelligence vast, but we now understand it, contain it, and respect it. The final confrontation has secured a fragile peace. Back at the hidden chamber, the team recorded every detail: the origin, the codex sequences, the rituals, and the creature's behavior. They understood that containment was not a one-time event, but a continuous responsibility. Karim whispered, "The ancients left us this legacy, not just containment, but understanding, respect, and vigilance." Mira nodded, "And now it's ours. We've inherited not just their knowledge, but their duty." Elias concluded, "The subterranean depths revealed the truth, tested our skill, and demanded precision. The final confrontation is complete, but the responsibility endures." The final confrontation in the subterranean depths had concluded. The creature, once bound above and partially restrained below, was now fully contained and understood. The codex, glyphs, and network had guided the team through knowledge, precision, and vigilance. Elias, Mira, and Karim had become the new guardians.
Successors to the ancients. The desert, the subterranean depths, and the creature's eternal presence remained a living testament to intelligence, history, and responsibility. The journey had reached its climax, but the legacy, vigilance, and knowledge of the creature would persist, echoing beneath time, beneath the desert, and within the network itself.
Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope these sleepy towns and their histories have given you a little bit of calm for your evening. Don't forget to subscribe for more relaxing journeys through history. Until next time, sleep well and dream of the past.